Today's episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas. Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and incredible 24/7 customer support. Start building your website today at squarespace.com and enter the offer code PS at checkout to get 10% off. Squarespace. You should. What's up, everybody? Welcome to PS I Love You XOXO episode 21. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
It's good to be here with you today.
It's good to be here with you today, Colin Moriarty. But we have somebody else here.
We do.
For the first time ever. An in-person guest who's going to be here the whole show with us.
Holy moly.
Is none other than Giant Bomb's Dan Ryckert.
Commissioner?
Now we're doing the wrestling thing again.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Dirty Dan Ryckert's here.
No. I'm just Dan. I recognize you as the commissioner,
Yes,
and
of
I'm going to
course,
give you the
of
respect
course.
that you deserve.
I'm wearing
here,
a full
so-
shirt now, so it's different than our normal
Right.
PAX wrestling.
Your neck's gotten better.
It has,
That's
yes,
good.
yes,
That's good.
How did that go with the video you made and all this?
It was great. I really hurt a lot of feelings of
Really?
people who live in Texas for San Antonio when I insulted them over
Wait,
and over
did you
again.
just do a promo, like making fun of the people in Texas without being in Texas?
Yeah, the whole thing of like how
That's a good call.
I cut them up. I cut the promo, and it's up on my Facebook page, facebook.com/GameOverGreggy. And yeah, it was just basically the entire thing. I was mocking the fact that no one came.
Damn,
I
I
talked
should've done
about
that.
Alex. I talked about Jeff, and then the last one was Pope. I'm like, the announcers
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
even come to their own show.
Trites is there, right? Trites is there?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right, good.
Somehow Dave Lang weaseled back into it. I don't know.
Is that even remotely associated with harmonics anymore?
No,
like
no,
the announcers
it's
were
totally-
harmonics.
it's
So now
totally
it's just Trites and Pope doing this wrestling.
Just doing this thing. They have
Sure,
everything.
whatever.
Why not? Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
So Dan,
Yes.
if somebody doesn't know about you, give us what's the elevator pitch for Dan Ryckert.
I work
elevator
at
pitch
Giant
for
Bomb.
Dan Ryckert.
GiantBomb.com. It's a website about video games.
Show everyone
we
your
go.
shirt.
It's a
You
nice
get that
shirt.
at giantbomb.com/store, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if this color, actually. I think the red one's available. But
Okay.
we do the Giant Bombcast every week. You can find that on iTunes. We just kind of bullshit about a lot of things, mostly video games, mostly.
Yeah, that sounds like this show. You're going to fit right in.
There's a lot of other stuff we talk about, but
Yeah.
and we do a bunch of website content, videos, things like that, live shows. So
Yeah.
lots of fun stuff there. That's the primary thing.
What did you eat for dinner last night?
I think last night was the box of white cheddar Cheez-It Grooves.
Okay.
And that's why my tongue hurts right now.
Sure.
It really does feel like a Warhead situation where I had a bunch of those. I think it's the sodium. Does that make sense? Does that happen if I eat a whole box of Cheez-Its?
I don't know. This doesn't.
I didn't bite my tongue. I had nothing acidic.
You eat a lot of food, right? And then, your tongue gets all raw and like gross. And like,
You eat a lot of food and your tongue gets raw and
like when you
gross.
used to like when you used to eat Doritos 3Ds.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm right
or
there with
the Cheetos that are shaped like Chester Cheetah's
Yep,
paw.
the paws. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Captain Crunch to an extent, a similar
Right.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
that would
Where
cut
it's
up
like,
the roof of your
exactly. But that's what we're talking about, right? Like,
Yeah,
internal damage caused by food you overate.
Yeah. Today I've only had potato chips and a full pint of Ben and Jerry's half baked. So
See,
doing
that's
good.
what I love about you is like, you know what I mean? Like we used to, and this is interesting too because we used to give Jim Riley so much shit back in the day about how he ate.
We both worked with him.
And I know.
Yes.
And then I remember when he went to Game Informer and he would tell me about you. I was like, wait, so this guy eats just like you?
No, he's way dumber than I am about food.
Okay.
We would take him to these like amazing, like he loves cheeseburgers, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
he
that's
loves
his
them.
thing,
With
is
nothing,
cheeseburgers.
plain.
McDonald's, he loves cheeseburgers, yeah, plain. And that I get cheeseburgers plain too, meat and cheese, or I used to. New Dan tries everything.
Okay.
But we took
like
him
this.
to
New Day Dan.
Yeah, the thing in Minnesota is the Juicy Lucy.
Right,
That's the
right.
Minnesota staple. Is it's a burger. It's a cheeseburger, but the cheese is baked. I don't know what you call it, fried, whatever. However the fuck you make a cheeseburger.
It's just
the
put
cheese
into
is
the burger.
inside the meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you bite it, and it's like all this molten lava cheese coming out. It's
Nice.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So we take Jim Riley there because he just started working there, and it's like, you love cheeseburgers, you're gonna love this.
Yep.
And he looks at it and he hears what the Juicy Lucy is, and he's like, no, I'll just take a standard cheeseburger, just cheese on top of the burger.
He's the fucking worst.
And it's like, Jim, it's the exact same ingredients. Just fucking get the Juicy Lucy. He's like, no, I just want a plain cheeseburger, cheese on top of the burger. Just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, oh yeah. No,
I get along with Jim Riley just fine.
Oh,
but
we
he he is a total weirdo.
Yeah.
More so than me, I'd say, with food.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's much quieter about it.
That was.
He is.
Did you hear about
Yeah.
it? Have you talked to him since he started the new gig?
We've texted a few
The
times.
new gig
but-
does like catered lunch or whatever.
Oh,
like
yeah?
fancy, nice catered lunch. And they noticed that he kept leaving. And then finally they're like, are you going to McDonald's every day and not eating the catered, like amazing lunch? He's like, yeah.
That happened to me all the time when we were doing like Game Informer cover stories. We would go out to the game studio or whatever and be
Yeah.
there for a few days, researching the game and everything. And they would always cater in these lunches and stuff. And I would always have to like disappear and just eat a bunch of chips from the vending machine because it would have mayonnaise or tomato on the sandwich or whatever. So PR eventually got to the point where it's like, oh wait, he's the weird food guy. We got to
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
him what dumb stuff he
what
can eat.
weird thing
Get a
can we
kid
send our
cuisine,
intern.
Yeah.
microwavable meal in here.
SpaghettiOs. I think that was another thing that that Jim liked.
Yeah.
Was SpaghettiOs.
Yeah. As long as your hair has never turned a different color like Jim's from malnutrition, I think you're all right.
What?
Yeah,
He had one thing where it all went orange. And we were like, dude, you're going to die. Yeah.
Either that or he went to Chernobyl. We don't really know what happened.
Jesus.
I don't like sitting in these chairs.
They're too comfortable.
Yeah, like
I sank down like 2 feet as
Big
soon
old
as I
chip for
sat in
that.
this. Yeah. Are these new?
No. These are just the kitchen. These are just
Okay,
The
are
kitchen
you guys
chairs.
not used to it yet?
No. So I guess that's actually something interesting we should have brought up. If you're watching this on Tuesday at 9 a.m. when we post every PS I Love You XOXO on YouTube.com/kindoffunnygames and podcast services around the world, even though you wouldn't see the video there. We're in the dining room. We're in the living room area of the house because this is being filmed live and broadcasted live on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames right now. It's part of our final fundraising live stream to get everything going for Kind of Funny the animated series, which right before we went live, you guys crossed the $75,000 mark on patreon.com/kindoffunny, which is the total we needed to hit to do a full season. So thank you all for your support. I'm sure the number has continued to climb as Tim and Nick have a bunch of crazy stretch goals. What the hell was that? You needed a sync point?
Ramon texted me, says, "So happy for you, congrats and love you, man."
Yeah.
So he's tuning in, he's paying attention.
What up, Ramon?
Thank you, Ramon.
We love Ramon.
Appreciate you. By the way, on a very serious note, our very, very best goes out to Ramon. His stepmother recently died of MS. And
I didn't know that.
yeah.
When did that happen?
It was a few days ago.
When are you getting me these kind of informations? I was tweeting him my bullshit the other day. I would have said something.
So
Sorry,
my very
Ramon.
best goes out to you.
We love you,
Ramon. I
Ramon.
talked to him on the phone a little bit. It's just very, very sad situation.
Yeah, Ramon's a good dude.
So keep him in your thoughts, please. All right. We've been talking not about games. NeoGaf's going to flip the fuck out.
No, just the vocal minority.
No time to talk about anything but PlayStation. You tune into the PlayStation podcast. Dan, you only want... People were mad because 3 episodes ago, actually.
Well, the entire run of the show. So the 17 episodes.
Since we did 380 episodes of Podcast Beyond, that we don't get into the news quickly enough. We took about 20 minutes because we got home on a Sunday night and we were like, we're really hungry. And we were ordering like wings on the internet during the show.
Yeah,
and 95% of our people, maybe even more.
Yeah,
they
more
understand.
did
They
for
like
sure.
There's some complaints about it. So the next week, I intentionally went even longer, not talking about anything.
We talked about planes for a long time.
Airplanes and also traveling and all that kind of stuff for maybe 20 minutes. But then last week, I said there's literally no time for even introductions. We got to get right into the news.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there were some funny comments on NeoGaf. One of them was like, they showed a lot of humility doing that, and I'm like, is that what you would call that? I don't know. But I fear that they might be a little mad at us again.
No, they're not mad about it. They were great. Last night we announced the Final Fantasy thing. And you see this?
You're hosting an event in LA, correct?
Tim and I are hosting this Final Fantasy Uncovered event in March in LA. You can go over to finalfantasy.com/uncovered and learn how you can get tickets to come hang out with it. And yeah, like when Square approached us and were like, we'd love for you guys to host this thing. My response was like, I totally get Tim. Tim loves Final Fantasy, but I respect Final Fantasy. They just never clicked for me, right? And so I was like, it just doesn't click for me. People are going to be, angry. And they're like, no, they won't. And I'm like, yeah, they will. And they're like, well, it actually works for us because the whole point of the game for 15 is that we think it appeals to Tim, the hardcore fan, and we think it appeals to you, the new guy.
Okay.
And I was like, that's true. Like every time they've talked about the demo they played or what they've seen in the trailer, I'm like, all right, this seems interesting. It seems like they're trying to get more of like what I like out of video games.
Is that the one with the car?
Yep.
Okay.
I love driving. I
don't really follow a lot of Final
trips.
Fantasy
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. But
That is the car one. Okay.
But I respect the fact that they're aware that there's a big segment of the audience they don't get. You know what I mean? And so like they were like, yeah, let's do that. And I was like, okay, cool. So last night the announcement went live and I had my Reddit open, I had my GAF open, and immediately jumped in and like, this is how, and everybody on GAF as usual, because GAF's a bunch of great people. To me, I think. We're amazing. We're all like, great, Greg, no problem.
There are a lot of great people.
I like GAF.
No, there are a lot of great people. It's like, but it's there that we have some of our great supporters.
Yeah.
And then there's some of the most viciously mean and rude people.
You mean the
that
internet.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm so effective at just blocking people on Twitter that annoy me for years.
Start doing that. Feels good.
Oh, it's awesome. Some people are like, I mute them. I'm like, no, I want them. Like, I don't. So 'cause there's two ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
Your technique, which is like, they'll never know that I don't see anything
yell,
they write.
They're in the phantom zone pounding on the glass, yelling and tumbling out.
I don't like being passive aggressive. I like giving people the finger right to their face.
Yeah.
So like, so that's just, I've never muted a person in my life.
Yeah.
I'll just block you. So there's two different ways, and it's not that one is right or wrong.
Sure.
But yeah, on GAF, like I've lurked on GAF forever.
Me too.
And I like reading it. I think it's fun. There's some, I like their still like their GIFs and their images. Still, my favorite one is the Wii tablet looking out the window and you can see its reflection and it's like raining outside. It's like probably like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was perfect.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of great supporters over there. When we left IGN, we had a lot of great support over there. But man, some people are just vicious over there too. I don't see that in a lot of other places.
But I think it's because they're not going to come to your Twitter to be mean to you anymore. You know what I mean? Like we left that kind of spotlight behind.
From what I've seen, the ratio isn't that far off from like dickheads to sane, nice people on like Twitter or the rest of the internet. You know?
Yeah.
Like certain forums. And
the
stuff are
vocal
just
minority,
terrible, but
popping up being jerks or whatever.
Yeah, but it's the internet. It happens. You know? So this is a PlayStation-centric podcast, right?
I promised you that. It is.
We'll
this might be
get there.
trouble because I only talk about amiibos now.
Oh.
That's all
I
do.
have a few amiibos, if that makes sense. But I don't do anything with them. I just put them on a shelf.
I don't
Take
do
all your amiibo information and talk about Lego Dimensions and you're fine. Just apply it to that and you'll be fine.
Okay, do they have a Waluigi thing for Lego Dimensions yet?
No, but you can just say that's Gandalf and that's pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Housekeeping notes before we start the show for real. February 5th, ladies and gentlemen. That's this Friday if you're listening to this. Well, it's just the next Friday, no matter when you're listening, unless you're listening to it years from now and you find out we were awesome. We're doing the great big giveaway stream over on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. We'll do Colin and Greg live as usual, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Then at 12:30 or so, we'll start the giveaway stream. We're giving away a grand prize thanks to our friends over at Patreon. One of you in the continental United States will be flown to San Francisco for GDC. They will get you a GDC pass. They will give you a hotel room so you can wander around GDC and see what that's like. Then February 9th, which is Tuesday, the next Tuesday, we'll be doing on kindoffunny.com/store from 11:30 to 12:30 Pacific time. T-shirt Tuesday. If you're unfamiliar with this, we put up one T-shirt on the store for 1 hour every month. That's exclusive. This one is the Baker's Dozen T-shirt. It's one you all have been calling out for quite some time. So we're excited to do that. Colin.
Yes.
Let's begin the show for real with what is and forever will be Roper's Report. Time for some singular possessive news.
You talked about it briefly, but I'll still bring it back up. Because you kind of you stole my thunder a little bit, but there's 17 items on the list.
A Baker's Dozen.
Number 1. On Wednesday, March 30th at 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh my God.
Greg and Tim will be in LA hosting Square Enix's Final Fantasy 15 Uncovered event and stream. Free tickets to attend the big event can be garnered at finalfantasy15.com/uncovered. That's 15XV, Roman, not 15. The stream promises to be a big one with huge reveals for Final Fantasy 15. We've all been waiting for it. Do you know the nature of any of the things you're announcing?
I do.
Thank you, Greg.
If you're a fan, I would tune in for sure.
A Final Fantasy fan or a Greg Miller fan? Or
Either.
both?
Both.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Is there a lot of crossover, you think?
Yeah, no. I think so. Because a lot of people were defending me out there and stuff. A lot of people like me as a host. A lot of people like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy's been around a long time. You know that.
No, I do know that, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's 15 of them. That's it.
That's
more than 15.
No more than 15.
15 games with Final Fantasy in the title.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really a nice naming nomenclature. It just sticks right there. You know where you are at any point.
Now, were you a role-playing game guy, like a JRPG guy?
Growing up, I was really JRPGs. I was not a fan at all. I would watch my cousin and it's like, why would you pick an attack from a menu and you have to watch? Like, I want to be able to hit a button and hit a guy with a sword. I don't want to like watch stuff happen. But I just gradually got more open-minded with that stuff. And Final Fantasy X was the one that I actually beat. Like, I would play 7 and 9, or 12, but I would always like stop like 20 hours in, like way too far into it. But 10 was the one that I liked enough to beat. 4 I thought was really good when it came out on Game Boy Advance. I never played 3 or 6, sorry. So it's really spotty, but
Sure.
10 is the one that I can say I really like 10.
That's the thing with me is that I've been really good about picking them up and starting, but I never beat them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
appreciate them.
yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah.
And I'll try 15 when it comes out,
Yeah.
but unless it's significantly different, I don't know if I'll go through the whole thing.
Sure.
But I give them more of a chance now. Like I went back and played Chrono Trigger and loved that. So
nice.
I understand it more. I just beat Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, which that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So off and on.
Have you done Persona?
Spotty. Never done Persona.
Oh, you gotta do Persona, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know they played through the whole thing on Giant Bomb before I came on, and people like it a lot. But I have not tried it.
All right.
Yeah, it sounds like you and Tim have the same taste in JRPGs. Bad taste.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
I believe it completely.
I'm looking.
Marlon.
Final Fantasy X is so I've never liked that game, and that was the first Final Fantasy game that came out in the West that I didn't beat when it came out on PS2. Also, the first game I ever bought online. And I went back when it came on Vita and I played it again for a little while, and then I just put it down. And then earlier this year, remember, I was like, I have to play this game. Like, I just can't understand why people like it. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just like, there's something here. I'm missing it. It's the same way I felt about Dark Souls. When we were at IGN, I took an entire week off and played Dark Souls again because I'm like, what am I missing? And I realized I wasn't missing anything.
Did you ever find it with Dark Souls? Because I found it.
I found it with Bloodborne.
Okay, I did. Bloodborne was the first one I beat, but because I like Bloodborne so much, I've been going back and I've been streaming the first Dark Souls. And I really, really like it.
I think that I might like it more. It finally clicked because when Demon Souls came out, we always tell the story, we just totally ignored it.
Yeah.
And didn't know it was going to be this.
It was like a week late, and we're finally like, somebody's got to review this. Sam Bishop can do it. And they turned it in and gave it like a 9 something. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this game?
So like in early 2015, since we're very PlayStation centric, Bloodborne came out. Same with Demon Souls and Dark Souls. I never played Dark Souls 2, but I'm like, I'm not going to like this game, but I'm going to give it a try. I remember at preview events, it was a little faster, a little more arcadey, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I stuck with it and it clicked, and I played it for like 20 or 25 hours, but then we went away and I never played it again. But with 10, I went and I played it, and I'm like, what I found about the game that I didn't realize that I didn't like and why I stopped playing it after like 15 hours was the pacing sucks. At least in the beginning, like it just gets in its own way. Like I just want to play. And there's like all these cutscenes, and then I got to the laughing scene.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm done. And I just took the little thing out of my Vita and put it back on the shelf, and that was it. But that's just, I understand that I'm kind of in the minority, and a lot of people like that game.
Do you think it's because do you think it's because you have such old school tendencies? Maybe you've been wanting Final Fantasy to go back closer and closer to what it was.
I do want that. Yeah. Like 6's aesthetic. Well, 4 is really a great game. And 5's great too, but 6's steampunk aesthetic, along with the Esper system and all that kind of stuff, is still the perfect Final Fantasy game. 9, pretty close in that regard too. But I don't know. There's something off about 10. There was something off about JRPGs generally on PS2. That was when I like really fell out for a while, where I'm like, I don't play these games anymore. That's when I started playing some shooters and more action games and stuff like that.
That was the rise of Sandbox and GTA and all that stuff too.
That was a weird era. Like that's when everyone's like, oh, what's your favorite PS2 game and stuff? And I'm like, well, I have a lot of them, but PS2 is like my least favorite PlayStation era by far.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy, wow. Right? I'd say it's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, PS1, very special to me with JRPGs. PS3, I think, was awesome. I think that was a super underrated system. And it was fun to like really delving into the PSN, into some of the exclusives that came out and like games that people didn't play.
Yeah, we were lucky to have that as our beat at the time.
And I think PS4 is fucking killing it. Obviously, and I think Vita and PSP are both great too.
I tend to lean, PS4 this generation. But yeah, I was definitely a 360 guy last generation. But yeah, the PS3 exclusive stuff, I was big on Uncharted. Outside of that, I'm trying to think. I never got into Killzone. Never liked Killzone.
Yeah.
I don't think. I'm still convinced that no one ever liked Killzone.
Did you like Resistance?
I liked the first one. 2 and 3 I did not like at all.
Wow, you didn't like 3?
No, in fact, I reviewed it for Game Informer and I gave it like a 7.
I remember
people hated that.
I remember that.
Yeah, people got really mad at me, but I did not like 3.
Wow, I thought 3 was. We're going way off the track here.
Who the fuck cares? It's our show.
It's a PlayStation
show. You're talking about PlayStation.
I'm a huge Resistance fan. It's like one of my favorite series of all time. Because I just love the story. I love alternate history and how they tied into the Tunguska event, all that kind of stuff. I think is brilliant. But 3 I thought is one of the great storytelling single player shooters I've ever played, if not the best.
Is that the one that's doing the whole like cross country trek?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
you have your son's mitten.
Yeah, and that's the one where you're going across like the river and stuff. Yep. And is that the one with the huge? No, 2 had the giant thing like knocking down.
Yeah, that was a
Chicago or whatever.
Yeah, 3 did have so you fight a big one in the beginning. You fight them multiple times. I don't know. I really liked it. It's. The way I feel about that game came back to me recently because I really like Wolfenstein: The New Order, and then I went back finally after having it for almost a year and played, not quite a year, but maybe like 8 months, and played the Old Blood and finally beat it. And I've been doing the challenge maps. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like Machine Games is murdering it. And it made me realize with Resistance 3 and these games and a few others, there's Metro. There's like room for single player, meaty 15-hour story driven campaigns in the first person perspective.
I think when it's balanced right, like I could not get into Metro. Like I like a good shooter, I like good atmosphere, and Metro has a lot of that stuff, but I can't get into the every 2 seconds fucking wiping your face and checking a thing on your watch or whatever. Like that, I did not enjoy that.
Yeah, it was a
stuff
little too deep, but I do like the, it's based on a Russian post-apocalyptic series, and I like that we don't really go there and like do anything ever in games. So it was cool to like be in the Moscow underground. Like I've never played a game like that, as opposed to post-apocalyptic United States we've seen over and over again. And we'll see soon in Homefront.
I'm excited for
Which is
Homefront.
dystopian, not post-apocalyptic.
Are you looking forward to Homefront?
I liked the idea of the first one, but the gameplay didn't really do much for me at all. I'll give it a shot because I like the idea, but we'll see.
Number 2. Sony has restructured the PlayStation business significantly, merging Sony Computer Entertainment and Sony Network Entertainment into one arm of Sony called Sony Interactive Entertainment. The arm of the company will be in charge of all PlayStation hardware, software, and the PSN, and will be led out of PlayStation HQ just outside of San Francisco. We go there all the time.
We know where that is.
In collaboration with international offices in Sony's home of Tokyo as well as London. SIE's head will be Andrew House, acting as president and global CEO. In a statement, House said, quote, By integrating the strengths of PlayStation's hardware, software, content, and network operations, SIE will become an even stronger entity with a clear objective to further accelerate the growth of the PlayStation business. Along with our business partners, SIE will develop pioneering services and products that will continue to inspire consumers' imaginations and lead the market. End quote. Sean Layden, who took over for Jack Trenton, aka Jackie T, in America, will now lead Sony's worldwide studios, its collection of first parties, with Shuhei Yoshida now reporting to him, keeping his title in the process. There's some confusion about that. There was no demotion.
Yeah.
He's now, he used to report to Andrew House, as far as I understand. Now he reports to Sean Layden.
Yeah. He was nice enough to clear it up on Twitter 2 seconds after this was announced to me.
Yeah, because a lot of people are still saying, like, you got demoted and stuff. Like, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this? Like,
it makes sense. It was always weird that they had SNE or SEN or whatever, though.
My thought was, why not just call it PlayStation? You know, like, it's like, I don't understand, or the PlayStation division or something. Why do you have to have these like convoluted SE and SEM become SIE? It's like it's all about PlayStation.
Because even their portable stuff has PlayStation in the name, you know, PSP and Vita did. So yeah, that would make sense.
And even PlayStation Mobile or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta kill it though, right?
Yeah. Number 3, February's free PlayStation Plus games have been revealed. If you have an active PS Plus account, the following games are free to download during the month. If you have a PlayStation 4, you can get Helldivers, Democracy Strikes Back, which we love.
We love Helldivers.
And Nom Nom Galaxy, which is also pretty fun. If you have a PlayStation 3, you can download Grid Autosport, Helldivers, Democracy Strikes Back, and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which is a really solid fighting game. And if you have PlayStation Vita, you can get Helldivers, Democracy Strikes Back, and Lemmings Touch. So a pretty uneven, mediocre month, except for Helldivers, which is fucking awesome.
See, that's actually the one I like the least out of all those. Yeah.
You don't like Helldivers?
I couldn't get into it. Granted, I did not put that much time into it. Holy Lord, you
weird young man.
I played maybe an hour of it, and it did not grab me. But I was playing by myself. I know it's supposed to be kind of more of a co-op thing, but it didn't seem like it was for me. Nom Nom Galaxy, that's the one with the soup making thing. Like that was kind of cool.
I think Double 11 made that, the British studio, right?
Right, the guys who had been behind helping on Little Big Planet and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah,
I'm actually curious about Lemmings Touch. I love Lemmings, but I haven't played a Lemmings game in 15 years.
Right.
So if it's just classic Lemmings but with touchscreen stuff, I might try that out.
Touch him. Rock from the Rock wrote into kindafunny.com/PSQ just like you can. It says, gentlemen, looking at the PlayStation Plus selections for February, especially Helldivers, I'm curious.
The stream's frozen, sorry. We're still going here, but
okay, cool. Especially Helldivers. I'm curious if you think the PlayStation Plus games ever undermined indies' financial success. I have purchased several indie titles in the past few years that have eventually appeared as Plus titles. Helldivers was a game I chose to wait on, and lo and behold, it's now a PlayStation Plus title. My question for you is, does this type of wait-and-see strategy hurt indie developers by dissuading players from purchasing a game outright? I want to be prudent with my purchases, but I also want to make sure that special, creative game makers get to continue their work. Please help my conscience. P.S. Colin was right. 3/4 home. P.P.S. Greg was right. Actual sunlight. P.P.P.S. Actual sunlight does not get Greg out of the doghouse for Taco Master. And Taco Master was amazing, so fuck you.
I love that you really died on that hill for that game.
I did everything I could. And I got it to number 9 on the charts. That's pretty good, Dan. You play Taco Master?
What is Taco Master?
It's probably Vita's 2015 game of the year. You got to make tacos. You swiped. You did this. You got
tacos.
You got a platinum in a half an hour, or not half an hour, half a day.
Okay.
And then, but it was great for the movie theater. I was playing Taco Master before Star Wars, having a great time.
Does it feel like a mobile game?
Oh
You're
yeah. Oh no, it's totally a fucking. Oh, it's an iPhone
Okay.
game that got ported straight over. Yeah.
And it has a platinum.
Yeah.
Huh.
Guess what?
Ground Zeroes didn't
Guess
have
what
a
does?
platinum.
I was gonna say Ground Zeroes, Gone Home, probably a game we're gonna talk about here.
We're
that
going
won't
to
ruin.
do a new segment.
Oh right, I forgot about that.
So you better add it to your stupid fucking notes.
Whoa!
Hey,
so Rock from the Rock, is this a concern, you think? Is this a problem?
No.
PlayStation Plus adding indie games eventually?
No, because, you can play it multiple different ways. When Dan Hatt released Axiom Verge, he stated specifically that this game will not be discounted or on PS Plus for at least a year or something like that. So just saying, like, you can wait and you're not going to get the game at all and it's not going to be discounted. This is the way the game's going to come out or whatever he said. But people have to understand that these indie games they're not just like selecting games from PSN and just putting them up. Like there is like significant compensation on the back end for these games going free. So sometimes the gambit is for marketing reasons. So Psyonix with Rocket League, that was a gambit for them. We know those guys, and I know Jeremy. I had dinner with him, and I know that they were going to make that decision. We knew about that for a long time, and there was some apprehension about whether that was the right move or not. And the idea was to like take the lump sum of money, even though it might be less than what you make if you sell the game outright, and proliferate the game. And it ended up working out just fine for them.
Well, think about how many people bought Rocket League just because of the huge user base that was all really enthusiastic about it because that game's great.
Right.
The PC people jumped on it, and now Xbox people have been like, I can't wait, and here it comes.
Oh yeah, it's coming to Xbox, isn't it?
Yep, this month.
Yeah,
And I said Dan Habits, Tom Hap, Dan Edelman. Got that confused.
Oh, you did
Action Verge is incredible.
Yeah. Two guys that work together on it. So I don't think it works out for everyone, but some of these games just get buried. And like if Sony goes up to you and is like, we'll give you $500,000 and just make your game free or whatever the sum of money is, or we'll give you X amount on every game that's actually downloaded, which is probably not a very smart idea, and I don't think they do that.
Yeah.
Then you take it.
You figure it's just, I mean, it's a giant lump sum of people. You still get the money. You're still quote unquote selling a bunch of copies.
It's a risk.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's guaranteed money versus like, we hope we're going to sell. Yeah.
And I've heard, stories, I won't get into specifics, about it working out very well and not working out very well.
Yeah.
For studios. Studios that turn down X amount of money to go free, and assuming they'll make Y amount of money and they get Z amount of money, which is way lower.
Yeah.
And some guys, go that route and make more money that way.
I mean, you think of it this way, right? And I understand being frugal and waiting for it, but with Helldivers as an example, right? Helldivers came out, it did really well. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people played it, except you. You hated it. But everybody else, a lot of other people played it, loved it, whatever, right? Then put it down and walked away, right? Then they put out the DLC, these add-on stuff, all this other stuff that maybe those original players didn't go to play. But now that all of a sudden these new people are jumping in to play it, get it for free, those original players come back, maybe spend money on DLC, you get this stuff here, you know what I mean? Reinvigorate.
It's a long game and you have to take risks in this business, especially when they're just burying a lot of games on the PSN. Number 4, PS Vita's newest firmware update 3.57 is causing some Vita owners serious issues. The biggest issues have to do with a lack of connectivity to the PlayStation Store and severe battery drain. It appears Sony has yet to comment on why some folks are having issues with the firmware or if and when a fix is coming for those affected. But it may be wise not to update your Vita until you've heard more. I did update my Vita and it's fine.
It's also PSA. This is every firmware for anything. Yeah. PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, PSP back in the day. There was always a weird number of people that something got fucked for. Welcome to 2016.
So consider that just a little bit of a...
I haven't updated yet. I'm just sitting on it. I'm like, I'll wait.
I can't find my Vita, so
damn it.
It should be all right.
That says a lot.
How are you going to play Taco Master?
I got other games to play. I got Witness, Tomb Raider PC. I got stuff to play.
Have you started playing Witness yet?
Oh, yeah. A lot.
I want to hear about it. Can we hear about it now, Colin? You want to
We'll get to the Witness.
Okay, good.
Save it. Number 5. I'm interested in what you guys think of this. It seems like a little off kilter for our particular PlayStation show, but did EA accidentally reveal Xbox One sales figures? In a conference call held by EA company CFO Blake Jorgensen noted that the publisher's estimate is about 55 million units sold combined for both consoles. Knowing out Sony sits at around 36 million PS4 sold, that leaves 19 million for Xbox One. Interestingly, EA predicted 50 to 51 million units sold by this point for those combined, beating its own estimates significantly. He also notes that the consoles combined are selling 50% better than Xbox 360 and PS3 at this respective point in their cycles. So that news is a little more PlayStation-centric. But what do you guys make of these numbers? Because now EA would know. And based just on their relationship with the first parties and a bunch of other stuff, they know how many consoles are out there. So I assume that this number is not so much of a prediction as it is the reality. Yeah. What do you think about 36 million PS4s or so, 19 million or so Xbox Ones?
That doesn't surprise me. I kind of feel like, Xbox has been playing catch up ever since that E3 that went very terribly for them.
Yeah.
Because, I think a lot of people that don't pay close attention to the industry, maybe not so much now anymore, but for a long time, thought that like, oh yeah, you can't play old games on it, or you have to be online all the time. I think for a while that persisted. Yeah. I remember talking to like Lyft drivers and stuff that were like, oh yeah, I don't want to get an Xbox. You got to be online all the time. It's like, no, actually they fixed that. Yeah. And to their credit, I think Microsoft did a really good job making good on a lot of that 100%. Stuff and backtracking, and they're not big on all that TV stuff now anymore. Yeah. So, but I think that initial marketing was terrible for them. And when I see those numbers or when I hear that does not surprise me necessarily.
It doesn't surprise me, but I'm still surprised by the gap. I mean, I knew PlayStation was way out ahead, but to be almost doubling up on them, right? It's like, damn, how many PlayStation 4s can you move? And then it is like one of those of like, I stop there and think, I'm like, well, how many people do I know that have an Xbox One or actively like play their Xbox One? I guess is another thing.
Well, Wii U is beating both of them, right?
Oh yeah,
Wii U can't be touched. Those amiibos.
I tweeted out, what was it? Life to date, as of September 30th, Wii U had sold 10.7 million units cumulatively. In October to November, December, PlayStation 4 shipped 8.4 million units. Okay. So Wii U's getting, we all know that was getting fucking clobbered.
It's a good year for Wii U. Last year, Splatoon and Mario Maker.
Yeah, good games.
Great stuff.
Not pushing hardware, though.
I know. It's sad to see it because I actually like a lot of Wii U stuff. But
I like the games. I don't like. There are games on there that I like, but the system's awful. It's just an absolutely
they've made
awful system.
a million terrible decisions with the marketing
Interface.
and the hardware.
And the tablet's awful. It's just awful.
Yeah.
I just hate it.
Yeah.
I like to play. Yeah, we played Mario Kart today for the stream or whatever. And it was
Mario
just
Kart 8's awesome.
I love Mario Kart. It's so much fun. And I'm like, why don't we play more of this? You know what I mean? But it's like, well, there's a million other things going on and da 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 da.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. I think it's just unfortunate for Microsoft because the numbers are fine. It's just that Sony's doing like meteorically well. Like it's still outpacing PS2.
Exactly.
Which is unbelievable.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So
Jesus Christ.
but we have to remember PS2's tail was really long, and I don't know how PS2 was severely supply constrained, as we all remember. Not like Wii, but it was supply. That Wii was more artificial scarcity than anything. But there was a supply constraint issue. There was no games when the PS2 came out that anyone cared about, except for like Smuggler's Run,
Which was awesome.
And SSX.
and SSX. There was a
Time Splitters.
It was a terrible
Tekken
Mad.
Fantavision.
Oh, Fantavision. I liked Fantavision actually.
I think PS2 actually got better exclusives earlier than PS4 did because by the fall or holiday of 01, they had Metal Gear Solid 2,
GTA.
They had GTA 3, they had Final Fantasy 10. At that point, Gran Turismo 3 was out. That came out in the summer. Twisted Metal Black was out.
Onimusha.
SmackDown, just bring it.
Onimusha, right? Yeah, just bring. So I think
Onimusha was 2001.
and so I
Yeah,
think
it was.
a year into the PlayStation's life cycle, I think they had way better games than PS4 did. I'm trying to think of like must-have PS4 games from the
Bloodborne.
first year. Bloodborne was awesome.
And I'm like, yeah.
Was that first year?
Well, I see what you're
Soon
saying. I
after-
see what you're saying.
yeah,
I see what
yeah.
you're saying. I apologize.
So
You're right.
I think PS2 came out of the gate way faster than PS4 as far as that stuff.
Yeah, I think that with
Good point.
with the PS2s, it didn't have so much of a scarcity problem as I think it had a software problem. Also, as a lot of us remember, like PS1 was still kind of fine for a little while. Like I remember even Final Fantasy Origins didn't come out until 2003, and that was really one of the last releases I bought on PS1. That was I had my PS2 the day it came out, October or whatever it was, 26th. So the thing that I'm seeing with Microsoft with Xbox One is that it reminds me a lot of politics actually. Like their map is shrinking. Like they are competitive in the United States and they're competitive in England, and that's pretty much it. Like they're they're like irrelevant in Japan. They're competitive here, but they're still losing. In mainland Europe, in emerging markets like Brazil, in all sorts of places in the Middle East, like PS4 dominates those places. And so like Sony's like spread the field.
Yeah.
And that I think accounts for a great deal of these units being sold as well. Number 6, EA isn't going to E3 this year, at least in a traditional sense. I'll be interested to see what you think of this, signaling the possibility of a major sea change in publishers' outlook on E3 and perhaps on the way games are covered as well, which is my big takeaway from this. EA will not be on the show floor at all at E3, a massive move by the publisher who typically dominates the LA Convention Center's South Hall. Instead, the company will be holding an event called EA Play and will invite regular gamers in addition to press who will also gain access to some games behind closed doors. It will hold its media briefing on Sunday, June 12th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. What do you guys think of that? That's a significant piece of news.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I look at the way that Nintendo has changed their E3 strategy, and they used to rent out the whole Kodak Theater. I mean, that's where they held the fucking Oscars,
Yeah.
So that's got to cost a ton of money. And also, you got to deal with, fuck ups and, live demos. I remember like Miyamoto showing off Twilight Princess and the motion didn't work. And, so, all these things you can't control. Whereas they shifted to these Nintendo Directs and they completely control the message. They make sure that before they put this out, it's, you can't fuck it up. It's on video. It still gets out to the entire internet. I don't see what you benefit by having this huge E3 presence and paying for these huge booths and having these huge press conferences. It still sounds like they're having a big conference, but I guess I don't see why it's necessary to
removing
do the old
booth is the crazy part. You know what I mean? I think, and I don't think it's crazy in a bad way. It's just
Right.
totally not what I expected EA to do. You know what I mean?
They've had a huge booth
They
for like
have
10 years.
Exactly. You walk
Yeah.
over there and it's like 3 spaces long compared to all the other little spaces you go through
Yeah.
or whatever. But they have like the giant EA wall and like all these little sectioned off places to go and play games.
I bet it saves them a ton of money, and I doubt it makes much difference as far as like, everyone's watching on the internet. They can release all their
You
trailers.
figure-
They can time it with E3 and everything.
Exactly. Well, it does the thing we were talking about it before, right? That I think it gives them a shot at Bethesda because they have their own little conference or whatever, right? So they get
That
to,
went great last year for
exactly.
Bethesda.
They get to be out in front of all the other messages. They don't have to worry because that was always the thing, right? Even on the Monday, you're like, all right, cool, Microsoft, all right, EA, Ubi, PlayStation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these not mid tier, but these ones that aren't published,
Right.
that aren't console people that aren't making these giant things. It wasn't as exciting as the other ones. So now you actually get the chance to have a Bethesda, and then by doing it the 2 days earlier or whatever for people to come, you get everybody at their prime. Nobody's going to be there like exhausted, cranky, already drained, like not being able to put words together to see their games like everyone does usually at E3. By the time you're like, all right, fuck, now I'm going to go over to the other side and go see what all these other games are.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think this has, I think, more significant meaning than that. Like, and that's my my conclusion is basically like Activision's never really had a presence. They've been smart enough to use in terms of conferences. They've been smart enough to use the first parties to kind of show their games off, and I think that's wise. Bethesda, I don't even expect will have a conference this year. So like there's like one-off things. I think Nintendo will have a huge conference this year. So like people are coming and going, and there's an ebb and flow. But when EA says to itself, Electronic Arts, a very significant publisher, especially in the United States, we don't even care enough about the media seeing our games and going hands-on. I'm not talking about the big sites, but like just general whoever, that we're not even showing up. Like we don't need this anymore. Like I feel like they're looking at YouTube and they're looking at Twitch and all these guys and being like, do we really need to do this anymore? Because the way games are being covered, I think, is shifting so radically from like the more old style media to the outlets that have core audiences, whether it's Rooster Teeth or Giant Bomb or like what we're trying to do on a very small level or anything like that. A bunch of YouTubers, a bunch of Twitch streamers, and they're untraditional in their own sense where they don't cover games like that anymore. And so like I wonder if it's really a sign of like we need to connect with like players, people like word of mouth. We need to connect with people that want to access our games as opposed to website X that goes to E3.
The person has the right credentials.
I just think that's what I'm surprised is lost on a lot of people. Maybe I'm just over like reading it wrong, but to me, I'm like, that's a pretty significant step.
I get you, but for me, it's like, I think when we get there, we'll know. But what I think it's going to be is that everybody changes their plane ticket and comes in 2 days early or whatever and go walk around the EA thing before the EA conference.
I think the old E3 was set up for the old style of like the preview mill. And we've all been there. You guys at IGN, me at Game Informer, the traditional way of like you go there, you have an interview, you write the preview or whatever. And now as YouTube and Twitch and video-based stuff and podcasts become bigger, you don't have to go that old route. And so I think EA recognizes that. And and you see a lot of companies now, they have their own blogs and stuff. And instead of making the press write previews for them, again, they control the message.
They have their own editorial team.
Exactly,
Yeah, I think that it's sad in a way because we come from that world and you do too, but we don't really exist in that world anymore. So like
I don't either.
No, I'm saying the three of us.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting what in such a, I started writing for IGN when I was 18 and I'm 31 and I became an editor at 22, you became an editor at 23. And like we were in that world and that world was moving. And I think that world will always exist and will always serve a purpose and always have a place. But I feel like as it truncates, those people just have to go somewhere else, or they don't have to, but they do go somewhere else. And I feel like that somewhere else is just smaller groups of people finding people they trust, getting their advice or, from them, like the friend on the couch kind of mentality. And I just feel like it's not so much that EA is just not showing up and it's just EA's not showing up in a vacuum. I think that they're just looking at it and being like, we don't need to connect the way we used to connect to the traditional media anymore.
Right. And you figure how much you dodge of it, right? Of like, even if they do, like even during their conference, they're going to get snark or whatever. But you figure now that you have this before where it's easier to get into or what and the other, you can bring in whoever. You can bring in all the Madden YouTubers. You can bring in all the people who care about FIFA instead of have it where Pele comes on stage and we're all like, oh, why I don't care about this? Why is it there? Blah, blah. You know what I mean? To somebody that really matters.
Yeah.
To the majority of us in our echo chamber on Twitter, we're all like, what the fuck is happening?
Yep.
Sports ball.
Number 7. Insomniac has revealed its new game. It's called Song of the Deep, and it's coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC in the spring of 2016. It's a 2D Metroidvania-style game at heart, and it stars a young girl named Merrin, the daughter of a fisherman who has been lost at sea, so she goes out to try to find him herself. Interestingly, GameStop, the major games retailer, is acting as publisher of the game, and while it will be available digitally on all platforms, like agnostically, it will only be able to be purchased at retail at GameStop locations and via its website. Insomniac retains the IP.
BMAC second writes into kindoffunny.com/PSQ. The Q stands for questions.
Okay.
Just like you can. It says, hey guys, first time writer, long time viewer / listener. I'm honestly just wondering what your thoughts are on Insomniac partnering with GameStop. I know it's only a $15 game, but giving collectors the opportunity to own a physical copy of a smaller title seems pretty interesting. I can't speak for everyone, but if Shovel Knight had a physical / digital launch at the exact same time, I personally go for the physical one. Thanks for your time. P.S. I kind of like listening to you guys figure out your eating situation. Brian M.
I don't think it's surprising because, I fucking worked for GameStop for, I guess, 8 years, between 3 years at the retail store and 5 years at Game Informer.
Sure.
And so obviously, I watched that company for a long time and thought about like as everything
you
went more
survive?
digital. It's like, this is a brick and mortar retail store. And I saw them make those moves while I was at GI. They bought Congregate, which is this big, Flash gaming portal or whatever. And they started opening all these, Simply Mac stores where they're selling used iPhones or whatever.
Sure.
So I think, obviously, the people down there at corporate in Texas understand that this digital future is coming, and they're probably just throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and hoping something sticks, and they find a new business model, because the old one, the brick and mortar stores that just buy used games, that could have gone down if the used game thing went through this generation.
Right.
I think the doomsday clock got pushed back a little bit when, that Adam Boyes video went up with Shuhei.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. They're just, they have to try different things.
It's a fascinating move, and it's cool to see. I'm not against it, obviously. I like the fact that, there is a way to get this game out. That, like, how many digital games do we see? Where I go and talk to a friend who owns a console, I'm like, have you played this, that? And they're like, no, where is it? I'm like, you got to buy it off the store. He's like, I don't buy them. You know what I mean? I buy them from Walmart or whatever. When I'm walking around, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how. Like, I look at Amazon. They did the thing now where if you pre-order from them, what is it? Like,
it's 20% off.
Yeah,
if you're
which was
Prime.
like a mirror of Best Buy, which was Best Buy's only prayer of staying in the game, really, in that regard. The thing about these companies, Best Buy less so, because I feel like some people are always going to want to go see the TV or see the stereo or whatever and buy it in person. Like, I just feel like there's always going to be that's the same thing with clothes. Like,
it became a showroom for Amazon. You go see it at Best Buy and you buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they had to introduce the price match thing.
Right, exactly. And I saw what was funny is the opposite of that when I was in Seattle visiting Nate, our friend who works at Xbox. There's an Amazon store there, like, which is so I'm like
a brick and mortar store? Really?
Yeah.
What the hell is it? What year is it?
And so like where they have like books and all, it's like really weird. But GameStop's days are numbered.
Yeah.
And like I think that's clear. And I'm not saying them as a corporate entity. I'm saying that like that store will only exist as long as the hardware manufacturers think that they need to let them exist. Because I've said time and time again, and we talked about this a long time ago on Podcast Beyond, when Vita came out and the digital pricing was less, like by just some incremental amount if you bought the games digitally as opposed to bought the game retail. I'm like, this is a harbinger of things to come, and they're comfortable doing this because Vita, no one cares about Vita. But the second that Sony's like, retail games are $50 on PSN and $60 in the store, it's over. And they don't do that because they still need these guys to push their hardware. And when they are comfortable relying on companies that do not care, like Amazon, or their own marketing reach, then these companies are going to start to really dwindle. And I just don't see a future for that. For no matter what people want, they want to put games on their shelves and stuff. No matter what, people are going to have to become comfortable with the fact that like you're not going to go into a store in 10 years, I don't think, and buy a game. Like, I just don't know that that's going to be the case.
The years of the midnight launch and everything, those are gone. And, when I worked at the store, those were huge business days, is because, you wanted it at midnight, and how else are you going to get it except for going to GameStop and everything. Now you can preload it on Steam. You can preload it on the consoles. There's
and
really...
it's the best. You watch the countdown clock go, you're like,
it's great. It is objectively a much better way to get your games than driving to a store at midnight and waiting in a line.
Yep.
So, it's not surprising at all. It is weird to see, like, GameStop as a publisher of a game, just conceptually, but it's not surprising to me.
No, I think that I give them a lot of credit. They are smart. I mean, they're a smart company, and we've worked with them, and with really very smart people there. They know that, like you said, they have to throw things against the wall. I don't know that becoming a publisher is going to be their fruit. Is going to be their salvation, specifically because the weird thing is that Insomniac, you need a publisher to get a game in a store, but you don't really need a publisher anymore to publish a game digitally. So if you're comfortable enough with a game like The Witness, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and I know you like that game's not going to be at retail, and you can cut out all of the middlemen if you really wanted to, especially on PS4.
But this is, again, guaranteed cash, right? You figure for them in GameStop, or for Insomniac, GameStop's like, hey, you're already putting this out there. The people who want to buy it, they're already going to buy there, but we'll give you X thousands of dollars, right, to let us do this limited run and only do it there. And they're like, we had no reason for it. What's going to be fascinating is if it works or even works a little bit, if they then look at, okay, wow, The Witness is killing, and like, how many people would want a box? You know what I mean? Like, oh wait, this game's doing really well. And then it gets to the point where this game looks cool. Do we want to take a shot on it?
That wound up happening with didn't Journey initially? It was just digital at first, and then later it's like, oh, we're gonna put out this box.
They put out the
copy,
collection, right?
It was like the game company. Yeah, it had Flower and Flow in it.
Right. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me as a little desperate because they don't own the IP. Like Sony, there used to be a story told, I think it wasn't Braid, it was Limbo, that Playdead went to Sony to try to get the game published, and Sony wouldn't do it unless they own the IP. And that's like always been Sony's MO until more recently. And there's little value oftentimes in publishing these smaller games if you don't own the long-term prospects for the IP or the franchise. So it's just weird. Like, I just don't really get why they would do it at all. But I know Insomniac, ever since Overstrike/Fuse, has been obsessed with owning their own IP, and they do. They did it with Sunset as well, and Microsoft made an exception. So
I don't think this is the answer to GameStop's woes, but I don't know what is. So they got to keep trying shit until something works. Yep. Hopefully, I mean, otherwise you're just raising the white flag.
I agree. The only thing that's stopping them from falling quicker, I think, is in the United States and probably in Central Europe and Eastern Europe, but maybe not to such a degree as, and I'm not saying GameStop, but similar retail stores in those areas, is internet infrastructure problems.
Sure.
Once bandwidth is really like taken care of, which will happen, there, like, why would you ever want to go and buy a game? Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like, if you can download 50 gigabytes in a few minutes or something like that, then like, why would you even care? Yeah. Why would you ever leave your house? And if Sony makes it worth your while, or Microsoft makes it worth your while, and says you'll just save $10 by not even going into the store, and yeah. So, number 8. Ubisoft has outlined the Division's DLC plans, noting that the game will receive, among other updates, 3 meaty paid expansions. The game will also get a season pass that will encapsulate all of the paid DLC. The 3 DLC packs will come out in the year after the game's March launch and will be called Underground, Survival, and Last Stand. Details are scarce about what any of the DLC packs are in nature. Other than that, Underground allows you, as its name suggests, to go into the underworld of Manhattan, presumably the subways. While Survival sounds also like its name suggests to be a horde mode type expansion, although that's conjecture at the current time. So there's a lot of excitement about this game. People have been playing the beta and are really, really, really digging it.
Have you guys played it?
No.
It's I watched Jeff play for a video on Giant Bomb, and it's really cool.
I can't wait, but it's weird to say I can't wait, and it's loaded on both my PS4s or whatever. But it's like I just betas. I want my progress.
I'm the exact same way.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to play an hour now to then get it and be like, all right, I know this hour.
It's tempting to play it now, but I don't want to get way into it and put 10 hours into a beta and then be like, oh, start over and
No, can't wait.
Yeah,
it looks really cool.
And a lot of people have been tweeting at me, and I appreciate it because I don't play games with other people. A lot of people are saying, like, you can even play the beta by yourself. Like, so it's clear that the game is playable by itself. Good. Number 9. Rumor has it that a new Ghostbusters game is in the works. Retail merchandiser is the source of the rumor, which notes that Activision will release a, quote, fully fledged, end quote, game alongside the upcoming movie. No other information is currently available.
Interesting.
Activision?
They
own the rights. Okay. Did they say anything about a developer in there?
Nothing else.
No. Who did that last one? Was it?
It was Terminal Velocity. Terminal Reality. Did the last Ghostbuster one.
What else did they do? I can't remember what team that was that worked on that. That game was not terrible, but it was not what it should have been.
8.0 IGN. What are you talking about? Not terrible. That was. I mean, it's great. It was this weird thing. It's a game that I feel, and it sounds like we're already on different pages, but I feel like doesn't get enough credit. I feel like a lot of people wrote it off as a bullshit, whatever, and then it was like, what? I thought it was better than that, obviously. It was fun. It had this weird multiplayer suite, which was weird. But what I find really funny about this is the fact that if you remember, it was Ghostbusters was being published by Sierra.
Right.
Sierra went down. Activision bought a bunch of Sierra properties but didn't buy Ghostbusters. And people were like, why didn't you buy Ghostbusters? And they were like, we wanted to buy franchises that were annualizable. And then instead Atari picked it up and published it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so now it's, what goes around comes around, and they got it. What terrifies me about it is, it's a tie into the movie. It's an Activision movie tie-in. And it's like, ooh, I feel like we've been burned there before. Whether it be Spider-Man, not a movie, of course, but the Walking Dead game.
Did they do the old like Fantastic Four games and stuff? It was really shitty.
Oh, shit, did they?
So I'm looking at their list. First of all, they're defunct. The
it was Terminal Reality.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The last game they worked on was The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. That was their last game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kinect Star Wars, Def Jam Rap Star, but that might have been ports. Ghostbusters, the video game. Seems like they had a relationship for a long time with SNK because they did SNK Arcade, Classics, Metal Slug Anthology, King of Fighters Collection.
Okay.
Blood Rain Games, and Flux, Blowout, 4x4 Evolution.
I'm excited for it because I just
really
like Ghostbusters games, but it screams of movie tie-in from Activision, which usually is a death sentence for video games. So I'm fascinated to see more of it.
When was the last time they did one like that?
That's the thing. That's the thing is that I feel like they haven't done the cash in so long. So maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe they've learned. Maybe they've looked at stuff that took a popular license and made a awesome game, like the Arkham games.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this will actually sell a ton and be a sweet game. So maybe they've learned from that. Because I can't remember the last time they've done super shitty movie tie-in stuff.
Yeah.
Did they do Transformers stuff? They did the High Moon games.
Yeah, the High Moon games that were good until they got run into the ground. And then Platinum did the most recent one. The Platinum is them, right?
Right.
And same with Legend of Korra.
Right.
So there are some tie-ins that weren't that hot.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope that movie's good too.
Yeah.
Number 10. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still happening and seems to be in development. This may come as a surprise considering the original game came out in 2003 and the sequel was first revealed way back in 2008. News comes by way of developer Double Fine's podcast called Devs Play, which series creator, Beyond Good and Evil series creator, Michelle Ancel appeared on. IGN transcribed the pertinent part of the podcast, noting, quote, "That's the problem. We have no choice." This is according to Ancel. Beyond Good and Evil 2 has to be great. When we started Beyond Good and Evil, there was not that much pressure. The crazy thing is that Beyond Good and Evil was really not that successful and nobody talked about the game. And now year after year, more and more people are talking about Beyond Good and Evil 2. And then IGN notes, when Rice was asked why he thinks the original was has such a fan base, Ancel spoke of the passion and energy that went into it. Quote, "I think it's that time that the energy we spent on Beyond Good and Evil is still there. There's still something about it. When I look at it, I see all the work, the AI trying to follow you, the cinematics, the mix of sound, music, and colors. It's all still there," end quote. So he's talking about it in the current tense, which indicated to people that they're still working on it. But the game was announced a very long time ago.
Yeah. It was just that teaser when it was the pig by the side of the road or whatever. Yeah.
They announced it in France, I think, in 2008 at one of their events. So a long time ago. I said it before. It's the same way I feel about Mirror's Edge, frankly. Like where I'm like, Mirror's Edge is fine. I liked it, but like, why are you making a sequel? This game doesn't seem to have that much resonance. You know,
people talk about it, but are they going to come out in droves? Do we think that's changed?
I'd be scared of making a game like that.
I don't think it would sell a ton, but I think I would personally like to play it. I didn't play Beyond Good and Evil until it came out on Xbox Live Arcade a few years ago, and it held up really well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good kind of Zelda-like, I guess. So yeah, I would play it, but I don't know why it strikes me as like Ukulele. Those guys. It's like, well, here's this thing that was well thought of and stuff. Like Banjo-Kazooie was a big deal back in the day, but is that type of game? Is like a new Banjo type game going to sell a ton?
Yeah,
today?
exactly.
So,
is the industry in the same place it was, right? That's what we always talk about with Naughty Dog, right? Where it's like, people are like, make another Jack. And it's like, do you really want Naughty Dog to make another Jack? Do you really want them to make another Crash? Like they've moved so much far beyond that.
And sometimes that can be really surprising because, one of my favorite series of all time is Twisted Metal.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, and Black are some of my favorite games ever. And so I remember when Jaffe drove the
ice
he
cream
didn't drive
truck
it, but the ice cream truck on the stage and stuff, I was freaking out. Like, yes, Twisted Metal's come back for PS3. And I remember reviewing that game, and I liked it, but I remember like thinking, I think this whole thing, this type of gameplay, it feels like the industry's gotten past this. Right. It was not what I wanted it to be.
Sure.
So yeah, I do wonder if, when I play Ukulele or if Beyond Good and Evil 2 comes out, if I'll have that same feeling of like, all right, this is fine, but we've moved past this.
Yeah, exactly. Nostalgia only takes you so far.
Yeah.
About 5 hours in before you put it down.
Number 11. The Witness is all the rage right now on PlayStation 4 as well as on PC, and creator Jonathan Blow has spoken candidly about a few interesting tidbits concerning the game. For starters, Jonathan Blow has spoken out about how the game is being heavily pirated on PC, something that could be crippling for a long in-development game that costs $40 to purchase. He tweeted out, quote, "It seems The Witness is the #1 game on a certain popular torrent site. Unfortunately, this will not help us afford to make another game," end quote. However, he tweeted out that, without breaking any NDAs he signed, that The Witness is on track to sell more in a week than Braid sold in its first full year on the market. In 2008 into 2009. As the game costs more than twice what Braid cost, it sounds like Jonathan Blow is going to reap heavy financial benefits, regardless of the fact that people are rudely pirating his new project.
Jerks.
Yeah, I think Braid was 15 when it came out. This is 40, so if it's selling that much in 1 year, I mean, he's going to be just fine. I'm not condoning what people are doing on PC because that's not right, and he was cool not to put any, piracy protections in his game, and I'm sure that's not going to be the case for his next one.
Dan.
Yeah.
Tell me about The Witness.
Have you played it?
No.
Colin, it's one of those, like, Colin and I talk about it on all these different shows we do every day. And every time somebody brings it up or explains it to us, I'm like, I'm so glad people love it and it's getting great scores. And everything you say makes it sound like a game I would not want to play. I'm still going to try it. I just platinumed Lego yesterday, so tomorrow will be Witness Day.
I will say this. I anticipate a very long conversation on the Bombcast this week about this as well. So
okay.
I'll break down my bullets of this.
Sure.
If you're going to play it, if you're going to start it tomorrow, commit to playing a lot of it. Like, don't play 5 hours of this game and then drop it. Because the first night I played 4 or 5 hours of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say specifics. Like, there's so much discovery in this game and everything. I don't want to... I was doing one type of puzzle over and over the first night, and you might fall into that type of thing, like be in one area of the island and you're doing the same type of thing over and over. And some of the types of puzzles I didn't think were that great. And so my opinion after that first night was kind of like, I don't really see the big deal about it. It's cool. It looks great. I like some of these puzzles, but I wasn't super sold on it. I've played another 8 or 10 hours since then, and it's all I'm going to do tonight when I go back. And I'm really starting to get what's great about it.
Okay.
Some of these puzzles are really incredible. It'll make you feel like the world's biggest idiot and the world's biggest genius at the same time. It feels so good. It's For anybody complaining about the $40 price tag, no way. Like, this is a several dozen hour game. It's really fantastic. There are things I really don't like about it. There are some there's some audio log stuff where it's like just ruminating for way too long about these, artsy, like meaning of life type things.
Sure.
Like, I just want to do my line puzzles. Like, this doesn't seem like the type of game where I don't want to hear about this ruminations on religion and mankind and stuff. It's a line puzzle game. Just give me some line puzzles.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a little up its own ass sometimes, but just ignore that shit. And just for the puzzle elements, it's really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah, but commit to it.
It's just, but even that, it's just like, I see people like, Vanneman's drawing all these diagrams and stuff, and like everyone is showing notebook pages filled with stuff. I'm like, I don't know about this.
This morning I was cutting out paper shapes and stuff, and my girlfriend made a Photoshop template so I could like take certain shapes and manipulate them and turn them and stuff. Like, you feel like a goddamn crazy person. Like,
You're gonna
have a corkboard with yarn and stuff. It's gonna be like Homeland. I like it a lot.
To be fair, this sounds, two things. A, you sit there and put Legos together and put them on a fucking portal and play your Lego games. It's no different.
And those instructions are difficult enough.
Number two, this reminds me of the way we used to play games.
Yeah, 100%.
And that is, there's something special about that. Now, like, puzzle games are like some of my least favorite games. I never play puzzle games. I fucking hate them. And like, what I say is that like, I don't play a game to fucking annoy myself. And I'm seeing a lot of tweets, people enjoying them, but I've seen tweets from people being like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Like, this stops being fun, and my frustration level hits very quickly when I play games, if it's hard, where it's like I'm playing a shooter on the hardest difficulty and I'm just getting clowned out by these guys. Well, I'm like, I'm gonna keep trying. I know what to do. I gotta hide, and I gotta like, be a little sharper with my shooting and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, if it's like I'm in an open world and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you even want me to do. Like, this isn't why I play, but it reminds me of playing Dragon Quest when I was a kid, or Dragon Warrior, or some of these tactical RPGs or whatever, where I'm like taking notes and writing things down, and I have notebooks full of like, well, my party in Final Fantasy VI in this town can buy this, and I need this much money, and I'm writing all these things down and keeping track of how much money I'm making. Like, because games were simpler, it's funny how the games are more complex, and this seems like a complex and expensive game in some ways in terms of its puzzle solving, yet it has this spirit of something old, and I think that's something that's really cool when I see people's pictures like that. Like,
it feels like you're actually discovering things and learning things as you play. Like, if you look up any guides or anything, like that is not the right way to play that game.
Well, that's the big thing, is the people who are tweeting out things that make sense, I'm sure, to other players like you. But like somebody, I forget who I saw tweeted today, but it was like, I just figured out what the black pillars mean in The Witness, and it's changed. It's so amazing.
Oh, what do they mean?
Exactly. And
I thought they were just tires.
That's a cool. Like, I don't know anything about what you're saying, but I like that idea of like, the light bulb.
There is a mystery to it in the same way that, I don't know, it's a weird analogy to draw, but like in Mortal Kombat back in the arcades, when like Mortal Kombat 2 or 3 came out,
right.
I remember like rumors going around at like recess being like, I heard if you use only low kick for 3 fights in a row and then do down and block when Toasty Guy comes out on the portal level, and then people be like, that's a bullshit rumor. Or like, no, when Reptile sticks out behind the tree, you do this stupid thing, and like those mystery things, when you talk about seeing those tweets, like, oh, these things mean something.
Yeah.
It's really cool discovering that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm way on board now, despite some things that I don't like about it.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Number 12. The Ratchet & Clank movie is quickly nearing its release in a few months, alongside a reboot of the original PS2 classic Ratchet & Clank, which comes soon to PlayStation 4. But did you know that Insomniac also got close to making a Resistance movie? In an interview with IGN, Ted Price, the CEO and founder of the company, was asked which Insomniac created property he'd love to work on a movie next for. He said Resistance. Ryan Schneider, who's been at Insomniac forever, and is the producer of the Ratchet & Clank movie, noted that the company, quote, came pretty far with Resistance, but what happens is you have producers get other projects, actors get other projects, priorities change, end quote. That was really surprised me, because it seemed like no one wanted anything to do with Resistance anymore. I still have hope that they'll reboot it at some point. Maybe not Insomniac, but some
Netflix show.
I think you got to listen to the fans, and the fans are loud and clear in that they want a Fuse movie.
Yeah, we did. Remember the box art for Fuse? How terrible it was?
Just the head cut off. Yeah,
I like have no idea. Like, that is one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
When it was Overstrike and had that art style, you're like,
cool.
This looks all right. And then it just became Fuse. Like, what the hell?
And I remember that I wrote, when I wrote the history of Insomniac, which people can Google, I wrote a very long, I think multi-part piece on Insomniac, and I spent a lot of time there and talked to a lot of people, and we were talking about Fuse and why it kind of failed or whatever, and like what was going on with the game. It actually might have been, maybe not why it failed, but why it changed, because it might not even been out when I wrote this. And they were talking about how, and some people tried to walk it back. I think I don't really like remember exactly what was happening. There was some conflicting information depending on who you're talking to, but just like EA got its hands on this game and just like and totally focus tested it and took this like very Insomniac style, cute, over the top game with crazy weapons and stuff, which was always their tradition in Resistance and in Ratchet, obviously, and like made it into something much more serious. And that box art says everything you need to know about like what they did to that game. They took a cool name like Overstrike and made it fuse these bros and
it's like Haze.
Chicks.
It reminds
like,
me of Haze.
Yeah, like exactly.
Haze.
And the box art was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And and that game bombed.
Yeah, it
should have
bombed. It sucked.
It
was very mediocre. It was mediocre.
Exactly.
Like,
it was middle of the road.
It played fine.
It was game designed by committee.
Yeah.
These people come in and they don't get it. This guy doesn't get it. So change. And there you go. You have no vision anymore.
Yep.
Number 13. Gaming website Polygon has relayed an analysis by a group called Eco Partners, or ICO Partners, ICO, all capitalized, which noted that in the study of media coverage of games for the year, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was the most discussed video game in all of 2015. Fallout 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Star Wars Battlefront, and Minecraft round out the top 5. It's worth noting that Fallout 4 would have certainly won the battle had it been announced for the duration of the year and came out earlier in the year, just like Witcher 3 did. Witcher 3 only edged out Fallout 4 by 2% of coverage, with Fallout 4 having the benefit of only being announced for half the year and coming out in November.
Wow.
So Fallout 4 obviously dominated the conversation, but Witcher 3 overall, cumulatively, dominated. Number 14. EA has spoken a bit about 3 of its upcoming titles, Titanfall 2, The New Battlefield, and Mass Effect Andromeda, and narrowed the window as to when we can expect to play these 3 games. In a conference call, EA's CFO, Blake Jorgensen, confirmed that all 3 games should launch between October of 2016 and March of 2017. Quote, you should assume that a Battlefield will come typically in the third quarter when we normally have it. We're not announcing when Titanfall or Mass Effect Andromeda will come, but you should assume that's in the back half of the year as well because the second quarter is so dominated by our sports titles. End quote. It's worth noting he's talking about financial quarters. Number 15, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain has proven to be a huge boon for Konami. For starters, the game is officially shipped to retailers and sold at digital 6 million copies. This increased Konami's digital sector revenue 37.5%. Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card titles also contributed to a healthy Konami bottom line. The company's overall operating profit reached $143.7 million over the last 3 quarters.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still a thing?
Apparently.
All right.
People love
Actually,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, it's not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that comes to... Let me look. I'm getting this confused. No, Digimon. Same thing in my mind. Number 16. It's not the same thing at all. Number 16. Street Fighter V producer Yoshinori Ono spoke about some of the edits he and his team made to the upcoming PS4 and PC exclusive fighting game, specifically in regard to R. Mika and Cammy. Speaking with GameSpot, Ono said, quote, you may have seen some time ago for R. Mika's critical art cutscene, the camera angle was changed a bit, and we made some other changes with how the camera angles worked with the characters. That was one of our answers to some of this feedback. We want everyone to be able to enjoy playing the game. We don't want anything offensive in there. We want everyone to be able to enjoy the game as much as possible, so we're working to be able to provide a friendly environment for everyone. I want to talk about that story with you guys a little bit. What do you think of that? Because obviously it's a very sensitive time.
Sure.
The last 2 years or so with creativity in gaming and censorship in gaming, although it seems like Capcom has self-censored itself.
That's what this is different to me than external forces coming, you change the ending, do this, whatever, right? This is them looking at the rational reactions of like, oh, why is she touching her butt? Why are we looking at her butt? What's happening right now?
Right.
And them going like, all right, that's not that's not what we were going for. We weren't trying to over-sexualize her, but so many people think we are. Maybe we should. What do you guys think? And then coming to a rational, all right, cool, we'll do it. You know what I mean? They weren't backed into a corner. They just made the call on their own.
Agreed.
IMO.
Yeah, to me, it's the one concerning thing I have, and this goes with like Tecmo Koei and some other companies that are making decisions, not even bringing games out here because they're afraid of a very small vocal minority attacking them for being sexist or bigoted in some way, or whatever it happens to be. I still believe that we've been quiet enough to allow an environment of Orwellian kind of shit going on in the games industry and in other creative mediums where if you're not part of the groupthink, then you're a bad person. And this makes people preemptively afraid of doing things that might ruffle some people's feathers. And I think that's a huge fucking problem. I'm not saying that that's necessarily what's going on with R. Mika in Street Fighter V. I don't care. And I don't care about any of these things specifically. None of these games speak to me. But when I know Tecmo Koei is basically saying, or at least said, and then walked back in some way that they did not bring out Extreme Volleyball 3 or whatever, Dead or Alive, because of what they will assume will happen.
There's a chilling effect.
That to me is a problem, just in the sense that people are allowed to have the freedom to express whatever they want, disdain, disgust, excitement, whatever it is for specific games. But I don't think it's healthy for creativity when we jump on things that don't resonate with us, but aren't necessarily that
aimed
distasteful.
At us. Yeah.
You know, and taste is in the eye of the beholder as well.
Yep.
So, number 17. This is the wrap up. Twin stick shooter We Are Doomed is coming to PS Vita on February 9th. Stickball, the dodgeball adventure, is coming to PS4 at an undetermined time in the future. Puzzle platformer Organic Panic comes to PS4 in March. Top-down shooter Live Lock is coming to PS4 later in 2016. Arcadey sports game Dangerous Golf is coming to PS4 in May. Robot battling game Blade Ballet is coming to PS4 in the spring. Tron-themed runner Tron Run/R is coming to PlayStation 4 on February 16th. Platinum Games, much-leaked TMNT game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan. There's a spelling error here no one's going to see, but I'm going to fix it. Has been revealed and will be coming to PS4 and PS3 as well as other platforms this summer. Techland's upcoming DLC expansion for Dying Light, The Following, reportedly contains an area twice as big as the area explored in the original core game. And finally, and this is a cool little story. If you want to see a cool story about an unreleased Saints Row PSP game called Saints Row Undercover, and get a chance to download the file to play it yourself, you can go to Unseen64 and start clicking around and figuring that out. Pretty cool.
We played that on Friday on our Unprofessional Fridays show.
How'd it work?
It is not a finished game.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah,
if
turns
this
out
thing
it's
left abandoned on a PSP.
Yeah, it's completely broken, but it's still just kind of a cool thing to see.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
what's your read on the Ninja Turtles?
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
The trailer looks interesting, cool.
Yeah, I mean, my time with Ninja Turtles ended, in my childhood. I haven't seen the new movies or anything. I think it's actually kind of cool that they're relevant and that kids like the Turtles now because that's stuff I like back then. But I'll play it. I'd love to play a good Turtles game. I think I reviewed that Out of the Shadows, that super shitty Xbox Live Arcade game.
Yeah,
and gave it like a 1 out of 10 or something. It's fucking terrible. So a good Turtles game in 2016, I would totally play.
Anywhere but up.
Yep.
Colin.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this Ninja Turtles game's coming out, but it's just so far away.
It is.
If I wanted to know what was coming to mom and grop shops this week, where would I go?
You go to the upcoming list of PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, sometimes PSP software by the Kind of Funny co-founders. Quite a few games this week. AIPD comes to PS4 digitally. Says enter the AI arena and fight evil artificial intelligences with a variety of weapons and modifications. AIPD is a top-down co-op twin-stick shooter. Enjoy thousands of possible combinations of enemy and arena permutations that give you an unprecedented and nearly unlimited arcade experience. They're learning.
They're listening.
How to write.
Every time Colin critiques the little blurbs for the games.
Okay.
Some of them are terrible.
They tell you.
And I got into a
about
conversation with the Banner Saga guys where I'm like, this is a great game and your description's terrible. Huh. You're not selling your game at all. You don't even say what it is.
This is the official description, right? Okay.
Albedo Eyes from Outer Space comes to PS4 digitally. It says Albedo Eyes from Outer Space is a brain-racking sci-fi puzzle adventure with first-person elements. A wonderfully rich 60s sci-fi style and a unique approach to adventure storytelling delivers mystery and amazement.
I like both those things.
Amazing Discoveries in Outer Space comes to PS4 digitally. It says an odyssey through the galaxy where physics-based spaceflight and platforming action blend seamlessly together. Explore a colorful universe filled with amazing discoveries, alien races, and fashionable hats. Unfortunately, your only company is Zing, a navigation computer with no memory of your whereabouts and a slightly faulty social circuit. Crypt of the Necrodancer comes to PS4 and PS Vita digitally.
This one looks dope.
It's a great game.
Have you played the PC version?
Yes,
Okay.
it's really cool.
Crypt of the Necrodancer is an award-winning hardcore roguelike rhythm game. Move to the music and deliver beatdowns to the beat. It is cross-buy between the platforms.
Yeah. So tell me more about it, because the way it went is that the developer reached out to me and was like, hey, I didn't realize you had a test kit. Would you like one? I was like, hell yeah, I want to code or whatever. And then we were getting into this, so I haven't had a chance to play it, but I watched the videos. I was like, dude, your game looks awesome.
It's really cool. It's a roguelite, I guess, technically, because you can buy stuff and unlock things. But it's you tap. I played on PC, so I did the arrow keys, and to the beat of the music, and you can set it to all metal versions of the theme, or all electronic versions or whatever. Or on PC, you could actually bring in your own MP3s, and it would kind of set up the beats to that. Yeah, and so you can only move and attack on the beat. Gotcha. So you'll find yourself just kind of nodding your head dun, 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 dun. You're moving every single beat. And if you fuck up on that, I think you can get hurt.
Sure.
It's been a while since I played it, but it's very difficult. But I really, really enjoyed it. Okay. I never beat it. I think I got to the third world out of, I think there was 4 or 5. But
this is on my radar, Colin. I'm looking forward to this.
You should play it. Cool. It's very good.
Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth comes to PS4 and PS Vita digital. PS4 versions retail. People are excited about this game.
Really?
Yeah, I'm seeing some buzz for it. Celebrating its 15th anniversary, the Digimon franchise makes its faithful return to PlayStation in true RPG form in Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Scan, raise, and train your faithful Digimon companions to battle by your side in classic turn-based battles. I think some Vita fans are excited about it. Gravity Rush Remastered comes to PS4 digital and retail. I feel like we've had this game for a long time. Gain a new perspective as Kat, a strong-willed girl trying to protect her future in a world that's crumbling to pieces. With incredible gravity-altering abilities, Kat is the only one who can salvage the floating city of Hexville. If only she could remember who she is.
I don't like that write-up. It's just you should have just been. It's a superhero story. It's a new superhero story. Enjoy it.
Lego Marvel's Avengers demo.
Oh, okay.
And it says PS4, PS3 digital out the 3rd. When does it come out for?
The game's out. That's just the demo.
So this is the demo.
That's just the demo.
So that
we've
comes out
already
Wednesday.
we've already told you to go get it. I'm in it.
Letter Quest Remastered comes to Vita digitally. This game sounds cool. Ever wonder what would happen if you cross Scrabble with an RPG? Now you don't have to because Letter Quest is here. Help Grim and Rose, a couple of adorable Grim Reapers, defeat monsters, ghosts, evil bunnies, and more using the power of words.
Okay. Like Typing of the Dead.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Bought a keyboard for that.
Mega Dimension Neptunia 7 comes to PS4 digital and retail. Neptune's adventure is now going out of this world and entering the world of Platform Zero. Gaming industry has entered a precarious season known as the CPU shift period. During this time of social unrest, deprecating rumors about the CPUs have begun to saturate gaming industry. Neptune and the others worry the citizens will soon call for new leaders to replace them and that their rule will end. Like every other Neptunian game, it's a Japanese role-playing game.
Right.
That's making fun of the games
Making
industry.
fun of the games industry.
Nitro Plus Blasters Heroines Infinite Duel comes to PS4 digital and retail.
Been waiting for this one a long time.
The greatest heroines of the Nitro Plus visual novels come together in a battle royale. Choose from 12 core characters plus 2 DLC characters. Bring any 2 of 20 partners and build up your power gauge to unleash your awe-inspiring lethal blaze. Okay. Not a Hero comes to PS4 digitally. It says, when an anthropomorphic rabbit mayoral candidate from the future named Bunny Lord needs a murderous loner to clean up the city during the election, Steve heroically offers up his dubious skills with a gun and a lack of self-preservation instinct to this mysterious stranger from beyond.
It's hard to believe this is just coming out on PlayStation 4. It feels like we've heard about it forever.
Said Bunny mayoral candidate. Right. Okay.
He's the one who hires. Have you ever played this one?
I have not.
It's fun.
Yeah, we played it on PC a long time
Yeah,
ago.
we have a Let's Play up, I think, for.
Final game is Royal Defense, which comes to Vita digitally. It says the castle needs a hero as hordes of trolls are surrounding it. Build towers, save money, learn spells, and keep the enemy away. Follow the exciting story of the Dwarven Kingdom's eternal struggle against the troll hordes, who only want to crush the dwarves and claim their territory. I like me a good tower defense game on the PlayStation Vita, so
Who doesn't?
I might look into that. And that's it for the games.
Daniel,
Yes.
before we move to other things,
Yes.
how are you doing? I had told you 90 minutes when you got here at 3 o'clock. That's come and gone. Do you need to bail? Do you need to?
I can finish the podcast for
Okay,
sure.
okay,
yeah,
great.
Yeah, as
Just
long
making
as
sure.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably got another like 30 in front of us. Is that fine?
Yeah, can do that.
Good. I figure, right? I don't know. Who the hell knows with this show?
I don't know.
Wherever it goes, it goes.
Mhm.
Colin,
Yeah.
time for topic of the show. We have a little segment things we do. It's fun.
right. Yeah, fun here, right?
We have fun here.
Okay,
We're not
all right.
your normal workplace.
Okay.
Buddha wrote in to kindoffunny.com/PSQ and says, "Hey, Colin and Greg. Longtime fan and listener, figure I give this question thing a go. A few episodes back, you had mentioned that the PS4's life cycle will most definitely not be as long as the PS3's was, and proposed that the PS5 will be released at least by 2020, making the PlayStation 4's life cycle about 7 years. My question is this. Do you think the PS4's potential will be fully achieved by the time PS5 releases? We are now in the PS4's 3rd year, and games are still being developed for both PS3 and PS4. If we are at the almost halfway point for the PS4's life cycle, and certain developers still aren't making native PS4 games, I feel like the potential of PS4 isn't being fully achieved and won't be by the time PS5 releases. The final years of the PS3 were some of the greatest because developers found ways to work around constraints they were given. Will we ever have a Last of Us moment with the PS4? P.S. I love hard. Buddha. It's a reference to the hit movie.
Which
50
movie?
Shades of Grey.
Oh, I see.
Where he goes,
Okay.
I fuck hard. He doesn't make love, he fucks hard.
That's the dialogue? That's the line?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a real one. That's pulled from the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Are we ever going to hit the true potential of the PlayStation 4?
Yeah, of course. Of course we will. It took, The Last of Us came out the year PS4 came out.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have to be a little patient. The Last of Us is definitely the console's best game, I think. But yeah, I was surprised. I mean, to his point, Platinum is making, for instance, a PS4 and PS3 iteration of Turtles. And certainly this isn't going to push the PS4 to its absolute limit.
Sure.
And you see a lot of Japanese developers still doing this because PS3 still thrives there. So it's the same thing with Persona 5. Like, that's going to be a PS3 game that was clearly just put on PS4. Tales of Zestiria was another game that was just released on PS4 just for the West. It didn't even come out in Japan on the PS4. So I don't think it's a huge problem because I still think we overestimate power. Like, power doesn't tell the tale necessarily of why a game's good or bad, nor does our obsession with frame rate and resolution. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The greatest game of this generation could be an 8-bit game for all I care. Like, is it good? And like, does it speak to me? And is it fun? I just think we're like way too focused on like that of extracting power from a machine to making a game better. I don't think that they could be, but not necessarily correlated with each other.
Yeah. Dan?
I think exclusives are more of an important thing right now because it has nothing to do with power for me necessarily. My favorite game of last year was Mario Maker, which obviously is not pushing a ton of polygons or anything. So yeah, it's just this is the console generation I've been the most lukewarm on, and we're 2 or 3 years, we're coming up on 3 years into this console generation, and I find myself for the first time playing almost everything on PC. And not a power thing. I've never been like a graphics whore or anything like that, but the exclusives on both PlayStation and Xbox have not really grabbed me so far. I'm trying to think of what's grabbed me the most. Like Infamous Second Son was kind of like disappointing for me.
Oh no, totally. Yeah.
I'm trying to think on Xbox. Halo 5 was good, but it was just another Halo game. It felt like. Man, I'm trying to think of a single Bloodborne. I guess Bloodborne's probably the biggest standout for me on PlayStation or Xbox. So yeah, I want to see something kind of light a fire on the console because I have not felt that yet. And until that happens, I'm going to keep playing on PC, and I'll be playing, weird Wii U stuff on the Wii U.
Yeah. I think what he's talking about here with, the fact that PS3 and PS4 games are still being developed together, right, and be released, that's a business decision. When I start thinking about that, I'm thinking of third-party publishers. When I'm thinking of that, I'm not thinking on PS4, PlayStation 2, Xbox, anything of the third-party game that pushed it all to the limit, or you know what I mean? Like if I'm thinking PS3, it's Last of Us. I'm thinking PS2, I'm thinking, remember, it's similar to Last of Us, where God of War 2 came out at the end. You know what I mean? PS3 was on the market, but God of War 2 came out and looked amazing and was awesome, and everybody loved it. You know what I mean? Like that's why you have these first-party exclusives. You have these people who are making something on one piece of hardware. Because even when you're talking about my game comes to Xbox One and PS4, immediately then there is a split of like, well, we have to make it all look the same. What's this resolution or what when you have something where you can go all in on one platform and make it look great, and that's when you find something usually that's great. So yeah, I think we'll find I think people are right now trying to extract the best they can, what they can from the PlayStation.
Yeah, and I also think that the old consoles are being abandoned readily, with the exception of a few games. You're going to see Call of Duty still do well on the old consoles for a couple of years. Minecraft's obviously murdering on PS3 and especially on Xbox 360. But you also see tea leaves, reading the tea leaves of different situations. One major thing that I saw that I read into very much was when Wolfenstein: The New Order came out. It was on PS4, PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One. And when its standalone DLC came out, it was only on PS4 and Xbox One. And to me, that said, like, they saw that there was no reason to even do it. Like they probably saw a small fraction of their sales on the old consoles. And so these Western publishers and developers have readily moved away from the old consoles. Like we read the list of games coming out every week. And even though PS Plus still gives PS3 free games, when's the last time a PS3 game even came out? Like Lego will come with PS3 or something like that. But like there's no like PS3 exclusive games coming out anymore, or like last generation exclusive. Yeah, Yakuza, but that's because that game was very late.
And I'm just saying, I'm just saying so that the comments don't flog you.
Well, that's fine, but Yakuza is just a late port.
Exactly, it took forever.
The next Yakuza game is a PS4 game, so I just feel like I've said this in the past, I think, and we used to talk about some podcasts beyond. Like, I didn't even really need PS4. I was excited about it, but I was like, well, what can we do on? Is the way we're playing games changing because we're moving to a next console? Of course not. Like nothing systemically has changed at all between the consoles.
Right.
Not there's nothing that the PS4 does that the PS3 couldn't have done. Maybe not as pretty, or maybe not running at a great frame rate or a good resolution, but it could have played all of those games. Like there's not a single PS4 game that I played that couldn't have been on the PS3, and that's fine because I like shooters and I like third-person action games and I like side scrollers and all those kinds of things. These are. That's why I'm so excited about PSVR, because I do feel like this is actually going to be the first time we play games that are different, that are really different. But it doesn't necessarily we don't necessarily need difference for difference's sake. We've been playing Mario for 30 years, more than that, and it was the prototype for a side-scrolling genre that still thrives to this day, and that's the way we play. It's what I always say about like there's certain things with analog sticks and shoulder buttons and all these kinds of things. Like, what else can we possibly do? It's not even up to the developers anymore. It's like, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like that's like kind of the thing. I don't. That's why I think people kind of fall in and out of games, and even I fall in and out of games sometimes because where I go a couple months without playing anything because I'm just like, how many fucking shooters?
Exactly, it's another open.
But
world.
Then I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Dan, I don't know. What's your stance on the whole VR thing? Is that doing anything for you?
I'm big on it.
Yeah.
I've spent time with all three of the major ones, and I like them all a lot. I really like the hand controller stuff. I've done that with Oculus Touch. I've done it with the Vive or Vive. I know how do you say it?
It's Vive, isn't it?
Vive, is it Vive?
I thought so.
I have to think about it every time. I like the HTC thing and the Oculus
HTC
Touch thing. I had my first time with PlayStation VR at PSX a month ago or whatever.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're believers. We like, you know what I mean? It took, I think, the more we got to use it, like Well, for me, Colin was on it right away after he played Eve Valkyrie on Oculus back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, for me, it was like, that was fun. But like more and more doing different things in it. And then finally at PSX, getting to sit down with Rez and put that on and be in that world.
You do the suit thing and everything?
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Hell yeah. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is awesome.
Yep. I'm totally on board.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Interesting. Topic of the show.
It is.
I think you'll be fine. I mean, the whole thing is like, Buddha's question is PS4, will the potential ever fully be reached? Was the potential fully reached on PS3? Was it on PS2? You don't. I mean, we can go and say
what was even different between PS2 and PS3. I mean, that's like those are the that's the quite other than power.
Yeah.
Like what was the fundamental genre or the fundamental new way we played other than motion?
PSN downloads, but yeah.
Right, but
I know.
But delivering games there was a different way of receiving games, or buying games.
Really, what you're doing in this is, when we're talking about PlayStation and buying, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, we're talking about like basically you're upgrading your OS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your hardware for sure, but I mean like when it's like, when I think about what I love about the PlayStation 4, it's like, play Yakuza on PS3. I'm like, I don't want to use the XMB again.
But there are gameplay things that come about with more power. Like look at Shadow of Mordor. The Nemesis system was only on Xbox One and PS4. They stripped that whole thing out for the previous generations, and that was easily the best thing about that game for me. So with that more power comes, more freedom for developers to make huge, crazy systems like that. So it's not just, graphics and number of polygons or whatever.
Sure, but the question would be like if they weren't trying to, let's say the PlayStation 4 didn't exist, would they have been able to get Nemesis working on? You know what I mean? Was it something they abandoned because, we're going to put it all into this? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's the argument. Because it's similar when he said a second ago, like anything, I'm like, well, fucking Witcher couldn't, but if you dialed Witcher graphics way the fuck down.
Yeah, you would have to make major concessions.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd still be able to have this giant open world RPG, which just wouldn't look that great.
Yep.
And plus you had Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, so you were fine. You should just accept what you had. Colin?
Yeah.
It seems like as good a place as ever for me to reach out. Touch your hand. Tell you that this episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Building a website can be tough, and even if you do know your way around coding, creating something that looks good and works well is a time-consuming affair. Whether it's for a business site, a portfolio, a restaurant, or whatever else, in this day and age, you probably need one anyway. Well, lucky for us, Squarespace makes it easy to build beautiful websites without breaking a sweat. Squarespace provides simple, powerful, and beautiful website tools that look professionally designed regardless of skill level. No coding required. Not only does Squarespace provide you with intuitive, that seems like a double up in this sentence. Anyways, we use Squarespace to build the original Kinda Funny site. And let me tell you, Nick is dumb. And if Nick could build kindafunny.com originally on Squarespace, Dan, anybody can use Squarespace.
I use Squarespace to build a site and it worked, and I'm real stupid with that stuff.
What's your site?
DanRyckert.com.
If I go there, could I buy like your t-shirts and your books and stuff?
Yes, you could.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I should
Signed
do that.
copies of the books.
Whoa!
Yeah, there we go.
How's it feel to be an author and signing books and everything?
It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Was that easy to do?
Which part?
I'm not writing the book, but I mean getting it published.
Yeah, I use Amazon self-publishing service, and there's lots of stuff you have to look up, and like getting ISBN numbers and all that stuff.
Sure.
It's a process for sure, but I love it.
All right. We'll go to danryckert.com and buy that books, and then go to Squarespace. Seriously, you can't beat the ease and simplicity of Squarespace. Squarespace gives you 24/7 online support and a beautiful website. So what are you waiting for? Start a free trial with no credit card required right now, right today. You go to squarespace.com and use the offer code PS to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for PS I Love You XOXO. We thank Squarespace for their support of PS I Love You XOXO. Squarespace, you should.
I was waiting for the you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird
All right.
now. We said build it beautiful forever.
Yeah. Yep.
And ever and ever and ever.
Same
And
with
here we
us.
are. Weird. Reader mail.
Maelstrom.
Mail call.
Wait, but before you do that, where do you want to put the trophy segment in?
I was going to do it as one of the cleanup.
Oh, okay.
But you know, you've teased it enough. Do it now.
Well, I'm just
Introduce the new segment.
I'm just wondering when we're.
But it's for the stream, right? I'm not worried about it. So where do you want to put the trophy segment?
I'm asking you. I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
I don't. Let's shake it up. We'll put it here. From now on, the trophy segment. Explain everything you're doing.
So
don't
we got a recommendation that we've gotten a few times in the past, but like not often, but I still think it's a great idea to just talk about trophies for just a few minutes. Either the trophies we're getting or the trophies, I think more aptly, the trophies that have gone live that indicate, what some upcoming games are getting. And I use PSN profiles or XOFace for that. So that's basically it. So we can just spend as much time as we want or as little time as we want, depending on,
what you got a title for it? What do you want to call it?
What do you think? I don't know.
Trophy time.
Trophy time.
With your boy Colin M?
Trophy time. Well, that's not just with me. Trophy time.
I know. Trophy time it is.
So first of all,
the movement passed. Trophy time.
So first of all,
seems like a Tool Time reference.
It does. So first of all, have you been getting any interesting trophies lately?
I platinumed Lego yesterday. It was very exciting. There's always the thing about the Lego Platinum is it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's time consuming. Took me about 30 hours, Colin. I did about 30 hours to get this platinum trophy in Lego, right? And there always comes that point where there's that thing of like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Why am I grinding out all these gold bricks? Just flying around the city, picking up gold bricks and doing all these dumb things. But then you get through it. You know what I mean? It's that is that dip we all get when we're out there trophy hunting. When you're in a long platinum and you're just like, maybe I should move on to something else and come back. And I'm like, no, if I move on, I'll never get back to this. I do that all the time. I will get back to Phantom Pain. I will. One day get back to Phantom Pain, in Platinum Phantom Pain. But I did take my foot off the gas, finally completed it yesterday. I had that whole thing too where like, this trophy should have popped. Why didn't it pop? Is it glitched? Am I screwed? Is everything, did I just waste 25 hours of my life? But I didn't. Right. I got the Platinum. It was really good.
Good for you.
What about you? What trophies you getting?
Just Boy and His Blob. I've been playing on Vita, and I really like that game a lot. It's an old Wii game from 2009, but you're getting trophies in that, and then
for Boy and the Blob, is it just visually upgraded? Like, did they do stuff
I don't think
to
there's
it?
any upgrade at all. And then just going back to Wolfenstein, playing the Old Blood, playing the challenges. I still have to beat the game on Uber, which is fine. It's not gonna be that big of a deal, but the challenge mode is awesome. And I reflected on Twitter yesterday that I really like these standalone DLC kind of story packs that also have some sort of arena combat in them. And I was talking about Infamous First Light.
Yeah, of course.
Which I think the best part of that was the arena stuff, fighting against Augustine and stuff like that. And like running up your score. I thought that was like really enjoyable and really fun. And Wolfenstein has a similar thing where you like unlock these challenges to go back to maps and like have to run up scores by like getting headshots and combos and all that kind of stuff. And it's pretty hard. And I've been picking those off very slowly, so I've been doing that as well. That's basically it. I got the Gone Home trophies except for like a couple. And
did you ever go back and get your speed or anything?
No,
you going to, you think?
I don't know.
You will. It's not hard. I'll come in and do them for you.
We'll see.
Get you to 100.
We'll see.
Now you switch over to this PC business.
Yeah.
Do you care about Steam achievements? Does that draw you?
The whole achievement thing has fallen off pretty substantially for me because I used to be obsessed with Xbox 360.
Sure.
So I think I have like 147,000 on there or something, and I spent so much time, reviewing games on 360 and stuff back in college, like trying to get every achievement point.
Yeah.
And then once it switched over to PS4 and that became what I played more, it's like, well, shit, now I'm trying to get all these trophies and stuff. But then it just felt like kind of a fool's errand at that point because I had already spent so much time trying to build my gamer score up on 360. And so I still go for them because it's fun. It just gives me an excuse to keep playing a game I'm enjoying. Yep. Like I just played through the Resident Evil remake. They put that out, the HD... remake, remaster, re-release, whatever. And I'm trying to do all the different endings and stuff like that. So because I'm liking that game and I want to play it more, I'll go after those achievements or trophies. But most of my stuff's on PC now, so I don't give a shit about Steam achievements really. So
it's weird. Yeah, I remember when we were back at PlayStation, when we were back at IGN, we were so into PlayStation trophies or whatever, right? And then like I left the PlayStation team. Colin continued to be super into them. Then he had like a come to Jesus moment where he wasn't just going to platinum garbage anymore. And then it's like, it all evolved and changed. And like now it's like, I only care about a platinum if I really care about a game. Like I'm not just going to platinum a game to platinum a game.
My dark period with that was when I first started the Game Informer, and they've got this huge vault with like every goddamn game you can imagine in there. It's like, I have access to everything. Like, and so I'm looking up all the like easiest 1,000 points. Night at the Museum. All right. I'll spend 3 hours of my life playing Night at the Museum and then Jumper and all these like shitty games like Avatar. Sure. That's 5 minutes.
I have the Hannah Montana plat. Right. I sat there with Wonder Book because it was 2 hours to get the plat for Wonder Book.
It's a video of me and Jim Riley playing that on the internet. He gets real into it, as you can imagine.
I'm sure.
He's a live wire. He just loves all that.
Childlike glee the whole time.
Yeah. So 3 games of any consequence have trophies this week.
Like new stuff
upcoming
that
games.
Popped up.
Mega Dimension Neptunia 7 has trophies. Don't really care about that. Mighty Number 9's trophies have gone up. I saw this list actually a long time ago. I just wasn't allowed to talk about it. It seems hard. There's trophies for completing the game on normal, hard, and hyper difficulty, beating the game in 120 minutes, beating the game in 60 minutes. Fine play technical bonuses for all the bosses, which I think is like basically flawlessly getting through them. Point trophies and stuff like that. Achieve an S result, all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be tough completing boss mode.
Super hard. Yeah.
Boss rush mode in 20 minutes is probably going to be pretty tough. And finally, the disappointment of the week comes from Firewatch, who's maybe has one of the worst trophy lists I've ever fucking seen in my life. And this is a real shame because first of all, this game might have been able to have a platinum, but even if it didn't, you could have been a little more thoughtful with your trophies. These trophies are fucking garbage. And I'm excited for this game.
Yeah,
but like this week,
it's
next week.
Oh, okay.
So you get bronze, silver, and 3 golds. That's it. complete day 1, complete day 2, complete day 76, complete day 77, complete day 79. That's it. There's like nothing interesting about any of the trophies. And I just don't understand how developers don't get that it matters. Like, it might not matter to everyone, but it matters to a lot of hardcore PlayStation gamers that there's trophies there. And lo and behold, I went on the Facebook group on, our Facebook fan run group. It's almost 7,000 strong on Facebook, and people were bitching about it like immediately when they went up. Like, sure. So this is the thing that matters.
Sean Vanneman, co-founder of Campo Santo, of course, the guys behind Firewatch. Of course, when this went live, people immediately started tweeting at me about it. So then I immediately tweeted to him. I was like, God damn it, Vanneman. And his response are his twofold tweets. Number one, it'll make sense when you play, he says. And then number two, he follows up with, we thought a lot about trophies and decided to keep it simple because of the story. And that's, this is very much like, he's hung up on, because it's just complete the chapters, right? Which I'm not against.
Right.
You know what I mean? I like that fine in Walking Dead, like complete the episodes and this, that, and the other.
King Kong. Peter Jackson's King Kong.
The template for how all trophies and achievements should be done. But that is the thing is, I guess right now, I don't know. I can only say what I project on Firewatch, right? And for me, it looks like it's going to be this awesome story and I want to get lost in it, And so like, I guess I understand what he's saying. You know what I mean? They don't want people worrying about like finishing the game in 15 steps or like unfinished swan, right? Of like do it without throwing any paint or stuff like that. But that's all stuff you do on the back end. You know what I mean? Afterwards, like Gone Home, when I replayed Gone Home, it was like, I didn't even look at it. I'm just going to play through. And then I played through and then I went through and got all my trophies or whatever. I don't think he had to worry about it.
I'm not worried about it.
I don't think he had to worry about it. I would have preferred it to have a platinum or more trophies, because then you have Taco Master that's got a platinum, and it's like, well,
yeah.
I guess Taco Master is officially more of a game according to PSN trophies.
I'm not less excited about playing the game at all because I think it looks awesome. But yeah, it's just a disappointing factor.
Sure. Yeah.
Although not, albeit not an important factor. Anyway, that's it for the trophies.
All right. I like that segment. I like talking about trophies with you. Dan. I'm going to give you the choice.
Okay.
We can talk about solitary confinement.
Okay.
Amy Hennig's Star Wars project, Until Dawn.
Solitary confinement, like the actual like concept of that?
Right. No.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. BGST Claire writes in and says, hey guys, love everything you're doing with Kind of Funny. I have a hypothetical for you. You wake up one day to find yourself in solitary confinement, and you are told by a message on a screen in front of you that you will not be allowed out for another 5 years. No contact with the outside world. You're allowed to have 2 games from any generation on any platform to fill the time. You don't have a net connection, although assume your overseer updates the games to fix game-breaking bugs. What 2 games do you choose and why? P.S. Thank you very much.
So no net connection. So anything online.
The cheat, my cheat would have been, I'll play an MMO.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you can't do that.
Man. The game I've played the most, I think, was Soul Calibur on Dreamcast, but I don't know. I've already put so many hundreds of hours into that. I don't know if that would have legs.
See, that's the problem. I feel like no matter what game, I put out 2 games for 5 years. You know what I mean? No matter what it is, you're going to sit there and eventually be like, ugh.
I mean, I guess you could do something big like an Oblivion or Skyrim where it's huge on its own, but there's also different classes and different ways you can play it, so you could kind of mix it up for yourself.
Yeah. I thought about that too, but even then it's like is it enough to change?
I mean, what game is enough for 5 years, I
mean, like it seems, I mean, it's another cop-out, but I mean, I would think Mario Maker, Little Big Planet, something you can get in there, even though you're not sharing or playing other people's. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you can make
some
your own.
Fucking awesome levels.
Yeah, exactly.
5 years.
Yeah,
oh, man. Yeah. Might sign up for this.
I'd be like, tell the overseer that I don't need to play other people's levels, but upload mine.
I already beat Patrick Klepek. I don't need to.
Yeah. By the way, bravo. Good
Thank
job.
you. Thank you. Oh.
Civilization 5 would be one choice.
Yeah.
That game can be played for years. And it would, I don't know if it would always be fun, but it's definitely, there's a million different ways to win, different million difficulties, different million sizes,
I mean, that's the thing with like
city states to play as, and
those kind of games. Yeah, Sim City would be one that.
Yeah, and I was thinking about like Sim City or City Skylines or something like something like that lets you build and create, and it's like kind of got a million different permutations and is procedural basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I want to say like, Link to the Past, but I've beat that game probably 40 times now.
Exactly.
I know it up and down. It's not going to be that fun. I play it once a year, then I'm done with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's the problem with the question. It's a good question.
Yeah, I just don't know. With the no net thing really kind of cuts it down. Right. So.
Yeah, so I would say Civ and probably like City Skylines or something like that, or something similar to that. Maybe even like Civilization Beyond Earth, whatever the fuck it's called. Like just games, like those games can really be like go on forever.
Good choices.
Yeah. Okay.
So nothing on console.
Yeah. What a surprise.
or a management game, sports management game. I play that NHL Manager, sometimes a Hockey Manager on Steam.
Sure.
That you can play that for years and years if you really
But would
want
you
to.
enjoy it?
I don't know. I mean, it's just.
I think no matter what, I think you're gonna hate it. I guess there's no game. I think you're gonna get.
I'd hate anything and anyone that I was with for 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Like continuously, like.
How long we lived together?
Longer than that.
I know. I know. EJ Sponge 61 wrote in to kindoffunny.com/PSQ, just like you can. It says, "Hey guys, considering February is Black History Month, and I'm black myself, I was recently thinking about black characters in video games. I was wondering, what are your favorite people of color in the medium?" Then he lists a whole bunch, or his picks or whatever. I don't want to jump down that hole because I don't want to get in your head with them.
Sure.
So I wanted to know where we come at it from. Because when he read the question, for me, my first thing was Lee Everett.
Lee Everett, yeah.
Walking Dead. You know what I mean? Dave Fennoy, of course, a friend, but I didn't even know him at the time. I connected with Lee. I loved Lee. It's like I always talk about that in finishing season 1 and you're, on the verge of tears or crying at the end of it or whatever. I was like, man, I love Clementine so much. And then season 2, having that conversation at the table, no spoilers, don't worry, to Luke, well, I guess kind of having that conversation with Luke about Lee is when I started crying. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I didn't even realize that I loved Lee. The Lee I built, the Lee I made, the choices I made, like, I loved that character. You know what I mean? That stand-up guy who would do anything for this kid when I thought I loved the kid who really only said, Lee, and like all the, you know what I mean? I was like, holy shit, that's fucking weird.
I remember Barrett was really one of the very first black characters that I remember in a game. That's obviously Final Fantasy VII. And some people have a problem with that character, but I liked that character because it Japanese role-playing games always felt very homogenous, even definitely at that time and even before that time, of course, and even within the realm of different races. Like if you play something class-based like Final Fantasy V, well, like your characters are the same and you're just putting on different outfits, whatever. Or you play something like Azure Dreams or something, like it's like one character and a bunch of monsters and there's a lot of diversity, but you're not thinking about it in terms of racial diversity, you're thinking about it in terms of other things. It was interesting to see a Japanese developed game have characters that are clearly developed or clearly designed in a Japanese aesthetic and then some designed in a Western aesthetic. So I feel like Cloud and Aerith are more Japanese. I feel like Tifa and Barrett and even someone like I don't know. I guess it really would end there. Are very like more Western.
Yeah.
So that was the character that came to my mind first, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karl Malone and NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
Yeah.
No, I'm
the mailman. He's going to deliver.
Yeah, I'm spacing on the names, and I don't know why. I just played Last of Us not too long ago, but were they brothers or father and son?
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, what are they? Michael?
I forget their
No,
names.
God, what are their names?
I want to say.
I really like those characters a lot.
I want to say, yeah, one of them was Michael, the kid, maybe.
I think so.
Henry.
Yeah. Was it Henry and Michael?
Henry was a character who appeared in The Last of Us. He was a survivor from Hartford and his older brother, and the older brother of Sam.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought they were really
been a while.
well-written characters.
No, they were. That whole interstitial with them, like that's a great segment of that
Fantastic.
game. That game does such a great job of introducing characters and like
That's a tough one. The way that arc ends.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I would also say, although it even the name recommends that it was a spoof, but maybe even an earlier black character that I played out was Balrog in Street Fighter, but that's not his. He was M. Bison is Balrog's name in Japan. So it's not necessarily these great characters. Another guy is the guy from Starhawk.
Okay, that's one of his. Let's take it back over to EJ.
I like
Sponge
that character
61
a lot.
says,
especially in
I love Lee Everett, The Walking Dead, both because he's morally good, but also relatably flawed. I'm also fond of Emmett Graves and Starhawk, since we share the first name. And I'm looking forward to Nadine in Uncharted 4, and then he puts in parentheses, I love Laura Bailey. And he goes, P.S. I love you, too. To us, not just Laura. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
Don't be mean to him.
No, you shouldn't be mean.
No, don't you be mean to him.
Oh, I won't.
Okay, thank you very much. Wolf. Oh, you got something to say?
I was just gonna say, like the fact that I could only name like half dozen black protagonists.
And they started popping up in his list too. That's interesting. Maybe there should be more black protagonists.
I think I don't believe in diversity for diversity's sake by any stretch of the imagination. I don't. I think you have to make your game. I think you have to make your characters. I think you have to make your story, whatever it is. But it does say something,
right?
Especially because so many black people play video games, and it is kind of a shame that there's not
No, I mean, I remember. You remember
art.
that was a big deal with Starhawk when they put that out there, that it was Emmett Graves and it's this black, and we were all like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's cool." But it is. You don't want to say it's cool to be cool for its cool sake, but it was like this thing of like, yeah, we don't see that enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, I also don't want to go to creators and developers and bash them over the head with like,
No,
there needs
not.
to be this. I want more. I guess, creators of all colors to feel that this story speaks to the fact of like the protagonist would be black, and this is great. I mean, Lee Everett is another great reference where I never really felt like playing when it was happening and I was playing it. I never felt like, oh, how cool that I'm playing a black guy, or that I'm falling in love with this black guy and I think he's amazing. You know what I mean? Like that. Oh, you know what's another good one? I'm gonna space on the name too. Mass Effect 2, Jacob.
Oh, Jacob.
Jacob, I loved, and I loved Jacob's arc of going through about his dad.
And Anderson in Mass Effect as
but
well.
I didn't like him.
No, I know, but there are characters. The point is that
but the
that
list
was
is
really,
so much shorter.
Candidly, I mean, in my mind, when you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, like, and I thought of like 3 names in my head.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, how many? Maybe I played like 1,000 games in my life. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, so that was candidly that's a moment I had mentally where I was just like, oh, yeah, there's something to be said about that, no doubt.
AWolf_AD 47. Actually, it's just Wolf_AD. I don't know. I'm tossing A's everywhere. A Dan Ryckert.
Yeah, sure.
Like Fonzie.
All right, yeah, I'll take it.
Hey guys. Last weekend, my wife and I played through Until Dawn. My wife is not a gamer, but for the whole playthrough, we both took turns controlling characters and making decisions. She loved the game and even had her very own favorite character. Since then, we've had conversations about the plot and even plan on doing another playthrough together. My wife asked me if there are other games like it, so I told her about Heavy Rain and how it's supposed to be released again on PlayStation 4 sometime this year. My question for you guys, do you think that there will be more interactive drama games in the future? And also, will this make video games more mainstream, considering even people who don't game, can enjoy this type of game?
What's David Cage up to?
What a Detroit! It's coming.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we know it's coming. Yeah. I think you're gonna see more. Yeah, I think you're totally gonna see that. I think that Telltale has now made empire on games that are interactive storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That aren't.
I think that's an example of I don't like Telltale's games.
Yeah, neither does Call.
Yeah, I don't like. I heard
I like Telltale.
Tons of people love Walking Dead and everything. I fucking hated that game.
Sure. But you can understand that it speaks to the fact of something to play with your wife or whatever. Yeah, somebody who doesn't play games.
Yeah, and I think done well, I think it can be pretty cool. Like Heavy Rain. I liked
Heavy Rain's
a lot.
awesome for sure.
Heavy Rain's great.
Yeah.
L.A. Noire has its moments, but overall I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I thought it had a lot of promise that it didn't quite deliver on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you figure right now there's what we were just talking about, that Detroit, who's leaving me. Quantum Break is this interesting merging. I think it's going to be gameplay. I'm playing a game, but then it's got the movies and it's got actors in it, where I feel like that might not be one to have your significant other who doesn't play games play, but it would be to have them watch you play and that be an experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Quantum Break to me is an interesting experiment because we were having a conversation. We went out with my girlfriend and her cousin last night. You came to dinner with us, and we were talking about I'm going to speak in her cousin's classroom in like a couple of weeks about games, and specifically about unconventional games and like games that don't require specific goals that we're used to in games. And we were talking about how even in Mario, like the idea is to kill things and like collect things, and just get through. Like that's the idea, but like where's the storytelling and where's the unconventional gameplay? And what I would like to see, because I was using examples of games like Ethan Carter or Rapture, or these games that are very like, the walking simulator. And that's one way of playing a game that tells a story, or 3/4 Home, which is a game I really like a lot. That's a game about a mother's relationship with her family, basically, or a daughter's relationship with her family, rather. And it's really fucking sad. That game really like struck me in a weird way. But like the brilliance is not one type of game or the other. So it's not like Call of Duty and it's about shooting things, and it's not about like the Gone Home, which I love, but it's not brilliant necessarily because it just tells a story. The brilliance is going to come when people can like really merge this shit together in some sort of meaningful way, because the fact is as gamers, we do like shooting shit and we do like slashing shit and jumping on shit and like all that. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But how can you do that in a meaningful way? And the example we used was The Last of Us, where, the game tells a resonant story and a really sad story and a really poignant story. And when you kill things, you feel it. The game makes you feel like you might not want to do this and to like figure out ways to get around these guys without killing them at all, which you can.
Yeah.
So like when you kill someone, the game almost tells you like, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Because this guy's gurgling. for
You're
his
talking
life.
about Last
and,
of Us, and like, remember that first time I don't think it was even ruined in reveals or whatever, but like the first time you saw, I guess, Bruce grab somebody, do it, and the way he claws at this, and they come in tight, and you see his eyes bulging out, you're like, fucking shit.
Yeah.
So like I what I want to see is like what all of these games can learn from each other in terms, and I know that's very contrived, but in terms of like Call of Duty is a masterclass in shooting, and there's nothing wrong with that, but its stories are dumb. And like that's not why I play the games, and it's like an action movie, and that's fine. But like, what could you do if you took Call of Duty and had the emotional resonance of Gone Home or the emotional resonance of 3/4 Home? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a fucking game that some people might think is boring, like Gone Home, which a lot of people do think is a boring game. I don't agree.
Yeah,
but it's going to take brilliant minds, much smarter than ours, to figure out like how we can put these things together. And them being developed separately from each other is good because these guys can worry about the shooting mechanics and these guys can worry about storytelling and all that kind of stuff and physics and mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And then someone's going to be like, have a light switch moment and put this all together. And we don't have games like that yet. And maybe that's what we were talking about in terms of the previous question about like, maybe that's the future.
The power.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming by, Dan.
Yeah, it's
fun.
fun.
I like you.
We should hang coming over here. It's fun.
I know.
I walked here.
I know.
Yeah.
That's how close we are.
Yeah.
We should probably hang out more. Time for the segment. P.S. I love this best friend XOXO. Of course, this is where you go to kindafunny.com/forums. Go to the P.S. I love you XOXO board and find the place where you can post your PSN name to get friend requests, messages, little lovelies. This one comes from Moatsauce. Moatsauce. Hey, Colin and Greg. My history with gaming mimics parts of both Greg and Colin's history. The fact that growing up I was the gamer in my group of friends, coupled with my love of RPGs, means that I've played games mostly by myself. Recently, I'm delving more into the world of online games, and much like you guys, I'm very excited for The Division. And then he puts in parentheses. Also not watching any vids, and also hoping for a single player experience is real. And I would love some kind of funny best friends to play The Division with. My PSN name is Moatsauce, Moatsauce. Appreciate the time. You guys are an inspiration. P.S. I guess I kind of like you, XOXO. So there you go, everybody. Go friend Moatsauce. Become friends. Play The Division. Colin.
Yes.
What's this week's forgotten PlayStation game?
Well, I was digging through my trophies and something came up that made a lot of sense considering I've been talking so much about Wolfenstein lately. Is that if you turn on your PS3, you can go download Wolfenstein 3D, which is the first-person shooter ever. And I think a game that people should go play. We often talk about... we've talked about in the past, is it important to go back? If you have a child, for instance, do you start the child like with the NES or even in 2600? Or you just let them jump in and play these new things? And to me, I'm like, well, I can see both sides of the argument, right? My brother, for instance, who's a huge retro gamer, is playing with his 5-year-old son Famicom games. And this is like what this kid's going to know. Like this kid doesn't know anything about Call of Duty. He plays Macross and shit like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's something to be said about that. And with Wolfenstein, I do think that it's one exception, no matter how you feel, is that is a game you should play because its DNA is in everything. Similar to Mario, I don't think you can really be a gamer and not have played Mario any more than I think you can really be a gamer and not have played Wolfenstein. I think there's just certain games. Some people feel that way about Myst even, or something. Some people feel that way about like certain games where it's like, this is important. This isn't a game that was just good. It's important. And so I think Wolfenstein, which you can download and you can play on PC, you can play it on Xbox 360, on PS3, and a lot of other places. You play it on Super Nintendo, I think, if you wanted to. You know, there's like all sorts of ports. It's interesting to see the very beginning of the genome of the first-person shooter by playing that game. And I was just reminded of it with the nightmare sequences, which we talked about extensively in Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein games, which I think are fucking brilliant. Because you're going back and playing those games again. And it's so funny how far we've come.
Yeah.
With textures. I mean, these games don't even have a ceiling or a floor, you know? And there's like 3 types of enemies in the game, like a dog, a soldier, and a guy with a machine gun. Like it's
Mecha Hitler.
Yeah, Mecha Hitler at the end, of course. So like, check it out. Cool. See what you think. You'll definitely see where the shooter comes from, and because that is where the shooter comes from, and you'll definitely be able to appreciate it, I think.
How weird does it feel in the new Wolfenstein to go back and play? Because like when I could move around, I could see my gun and everything. You know, I've played Wolfenstein 3D a billion times back in the day, and being able to like look up and down and stuff felt so fucking weird with the modern controls, like dual stick.
Yeah,
it was cool. I love that part.
Yeah, me too.
Mike has the worst PSN name of the week. Remember, if you have a bad PSN name, you can head over to kindafunny.com/forums. Go to the PS I Love You XOXO board, post your name there, and beg Shuhei Yoshida to allow you to change your name. Mike writes in and says, "Hey guys, my submission for this week's worst name is my old original PSN name, Bipolar Bear, 1214. It doesn't seem as god-awful as most of the creations on the forums, but putting a certain emphasis on the name makes a huge difference. I thought the name was clever back in the day since I was a big white dude with a short fuse, hence the birth of Bipolar Bear. But all of my friends and people I encountered online read it as Bipolar Bear. I was just as pure as the pure one on my freshman year and didn't get it until a classmate explained it. Before I continue, I love everyone equally, and there is nothing wrong with being straight, gay, bi, tri, trans, and everything in between. Bears are just not my thing. As flattering as they were, I cannot tell you how many awkward messages I'd get every time I turn on my console. Not to mention all of the weird looks I'd get in the halls in my school, which I don't understand that one, but I guess it's just because people knew you went to school with all gamers. Whatever. I couldn't handle the embarrassment anymore. Once I figured out there was no way to change our names and wanted some more, and I wanted to be more active in the Beyond community, I deleted my account right after the great PSN outage, losing a few digital games and trophies to create Tidro 1214. Stop making terrible names. Tidro 1214. I've happily had the name since, and I'm just relieved there's one less imposter out there so the real bi bears can make contact with their little cubs. Please, Shu, don't let people like me lie, tease, cockblock unintentionally. Let us change our names. It's all on you now, Shuhei Yoshida. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PS I Love You XOXO. It is kindafunny.com's PlayStation podcast. It is the #1 PlayStation podcast on the internet, and it posts every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. You can get it on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, MP3 services around the globe. And remember, next week, February 9th, T-Shirt Tuesday is none other than Baker's Dozen T-shirt over at kindafunny.com/store. Dan Ryckert.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure having you.
I loved being here.
I
Thanks
hope you
for
had
inviting
fun.
me.
No, please. We love you. Come back
anytime.
more. Don't leave. Kevin, lock the doors.
I have to go home.
No, you have.
Actually,
Kevin,
I have
lock
to-
them.
Okay. Well,
No, danryckert.com, of course.
yeah.
Air Force Gator.
Yes.
Giantbomb.com.
Yes.
A great site we love quite a bit.
Giant Bombcast, the
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah. And on danryckert.com is the signed books and everything. If you don't want to spend extra money to get it signed, just go to Amazon and buy it for $10.
Yeah.
So, trying to think of anything else. February 26th, the Westlake Royale. I'm taking down Billy Gunn.
Westlake, like in Daly City?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like you remember when me and Sean Norton would go to those APW shows? Dan went with us once, and then I forgot. I had like the next 7. I had like engagements I couldn't go to, and suddenly Dan's a manager now and comes out and wears Google Glass and yells at everybody.
ProWrestlingTees.com/Dirty Dan Ryckert.
How insane is that as a lifelong pro wrestling fan?
It's honestly just this weird dream thing. And it's great that it's just this side thing that I get to do or whatever. It's just, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but it's been happening. Yeah. It's been great. But I always wanted to like walk out to theme music and be I always wanted to be a heel. Yeah. And the fact that like every once in a while now I get to come out to music and yell at people and, I want to take a famouser. I want to take a famouser.
Yeah, you'll tell Billy. He'll let you do it, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm reaching out to Joey Ryan, independent star.
Yeah, Joey Ryan's great.
To join me and my tag team, the Classic Connection, to take down the Reno Scum, who have brought in badass Billy Gunn, Mr. Ass himself, on February 26th, and I'm hoping I can help them take them down.
Remember when you were living in the middle of the country and you're just like, oh man, it'd be cool to write about video games.
Yep.
And here you are.
I wish WWE would come to town every once in a while, but no. Yeah, so now it's going pretty good.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, every episode of PS I Love You XOXO ends in a song submitted by you, the community, in a segment we call Singing a Shuhei. Remember, go over to kindafunny.com/PSM. The M stands for music.
Oh. Okay.
Submit your song as both an MP3 and a YouTube link so I can put the MP3 at the end of our MP3 or annotate out to your YouTube video on our YouTube video. This one comes from Dominic. Hey, Colin and Greg. My name's Dominic, and I'm a drummer of the SF-based orchestrally bent indie rock band Foxtails Brigade. That was a long sentence.
Relax with
but
the
I got
genres.
there. But I got there.
From one musician to another. Relax with the genres.
We just announced our new self-titled album, which is coming out April 8th. With the announcement, we also released a new single. The song is called We Are Not Ourselves, and I'm currently working on directing a music video for it, which should be out in March. The song is available as a free download through SoundCloud, and the new album can be pre-ordered on CD or vinyl at foxtailsbrigade.com. Hope you dig it. Thanks for all the hours of entertainment over the years, Dominic. I did dig it. That's why I picked it to be on this show. You making Kevin Coelho over there? Crinkleback McGee?
Kevin Crinkleback.
It's not if the mics can hear it. It's if the other human beings making a product in you. We're never doing this live again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Foxtails Brigade with We Are Not Ourselves.